Hey guys, tonight we're going to a place where the air is thick enough to chew and the ground is always shifting beneath your feet. We're travelling back to the Caribbean in the early 19th century to understand the machinery of the sugar trade. But this isn't about the politics or the maps, this is about the heat, the steam, and the relentless grinding noise of the mill that never sleeps. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1820. You're on the north coast of Jamaica, surrounded by endless fields of green stalks that tower over your head. The good news is that you're alive to see another morning. The bad news is that during the harvest season, what they call crop time, morning doesn't really exist. The work doesn't stop when the sun goes down, which means you haven't really slept. You've just drifted into a few moments of unconsciousness while standing up or leaning against a wall. The first thing that hits you is the smell. It is a heavy, cloying scent that sticks to the back of your throat. It smells like burnt caramel, old rum, and wet earth. It is the smell of boiling sugarcane, and it covers everything. It's in your hair, it's in the rough fabric of your clothes, and it's in the pores of your skin. You try to wipe your face, but your hands are sticky. Everything here is sticky. The humidity in the air mixes with the smoke from the boiling house, creating a kind of fog that clings to you like a second skin. You're sitting on a dirt floor in a small thatched hut. It is pitch black outside. The conch shell hasn't blown yet to signal the start of the shift, but your body wakes you up anyway because of the heat. Even at 4 a.m. the island is sweltering. The air is so dense with moisture that breathing feels like drinking warm water. You can hear the ocean in the distance crashing against the rocks, but you are miles inland, trapped in a sea of green cane. You stand up and your joints pop. Your hands are cramped into a permanent curve from holding a machete, or what they call a cutlass, for 18 hours a day. You look down at your feet. You don't have boots. You're barefoot, and the ground is a mixture of mud and sharp cane trash. You have to be careful where you step. The insects here are aggressive, and a cut on your foot in this climate can turn into a fever that takes you down in 3 days. You reach for your clothes. They are made of Osnaburg, a coarse, unbleached linen that feels like sandpaper against your skin. It doesn't protect you from the sun, and it doesn't protect you from the rain. It just hangs there, heavy with sweat. You pull it on, wincing as the rough fabric rubs against the raw spots on your shoulders, where you carried bundles of cane yesterday. Then, the sound cuts through the darkness. It isn't a rooster. It is the hollow, mournful sound of a conch shell being blown by the driver. It echoes off the hills, signalling that the brief pause in the machine is over. It is time to move. You step out of the hut and into the pre-dawn greyness. You are not alone. All around you, shadows are emerging from other huts. Men, women, even children, all moving with the slow, heavy gait of deep exhaustion. No one speaks. There is no energy for conversation. There's only the sound of bare feet slapping against the mud and the metallic clink of iron tools being gathered. You join the line. This is the first gang, the strongest workers, the ones expected to do the hardest labour. Being in the first gang is a mark of physical strength, but it is also a curse. It means you are the engine. If you slow down, the whole plantation slows down, and the overseers do not allow the plantation to slow down. You are handed your cutlass. It is a heavy, long blade, dulled by use. You test the weight of it in your hand. It feels like an extension of your arm now. You walk toward the fields. The cane stands 10 feet tall, a wall of dense vegetation that blocks out the breeze. As you enter the rows, the temperature seems to rise 10 degrees. The cane leaves are sharp. They call them razor grass for a reason. If you brush against them the wrong way, they slice your skin like paper. You take your position in the line. The driver shouts a command and the rhythm begins. Chop, swing, toss, chop, swing, toss. It isn't just gardening. It is industrial demolition. You have to swing the heavy blade low, near the roots, to cut the thick stalk, then swing it high to strip the leaves, then chop the cane into manageable lengths. And you have to do this while moving forward, keeping pace with the person to your left and the person to your right. If you fall behind, you break the line. If you move too fast, you risk swinging your blade into the legs of the person next to you. The sun begins to crest over the mountains, and instantly, the heat becomes a physical weight. It presses down on the back of your neck. The air in the cane field is stagnant. The tall stalks block the trade winds, creating a pocket of dead hot air. Sweat runs into your eyes, stinging like salt. You can't wipe it away because your hands are busy. Chop, swing, toss, you are thirsty. A thirst that sits in the back of your throat like dust. There is a water carrier moving down the line, a young girl with a wooden bucket, but she is far away. You have to wait. You learn to turn off your mind. You stop thinking about the water. You stop thinking about the ache in your lower back. You focus entirely on the rhythm. The sound of 40 cutlasses hitting the cane at the same time sounds like a strange, chaotic drum beat. Thwack, thwack, thwack. But the field is only the beginning of the danger. The real beast of the plantation is the mill. Sugar cane has a timer. Once you cut it, the juice inside starts to spoil within 24 hours. It has to be crushed and boiled immediately. This means the mill runs day and night. It never stops. And because you are part of the first gang, when the cutting is done, you often have to go to the mill. Imagine a massive set of iron rollers, 3 of them stacked vertically, turning and grinding against each other with immense force. They are powered by a windmill or a water wheel, or sometimes by cattle walking in a circle. The noise is deafening. The groaning of the iron, the crushing of the cane, the shouting of the feeders. Your job at the mill is to feed the cane into the rollers. You have to grab a bundle of stalks and shove them into the narrow gap between the spinning iron cylinders. The rollers grab the cane and pull it in, crushing it flat to squeeze out the juice. The danger here is obvious. The rollers do not know the difference between a stalk of cane and a human hand. You have to get your fingers close, inches away, to make sure the cane catches. If you are tired, if your reflexes are slow because you haven't slept in 2 days, it is easy to make a mistake. A loose sleeve gets caught. A finger slips. There is no emergency stop button. There is only an axe kept on the wall nearby, specifically for the purpose of severing a limb before the machine pulls the whole body in. You look at that axe every time you feed a bundle. It is a grim reminder of the stakes. The smell in the mill is different from the fields. It smells of raw, green juice and wet metal. The floor is slick with spilled juice, making it slippery. You have to brace your feet carefully. One slip on the wet floor could send you falling forward. And then there is the boiling house. If the mill is the mouth of the beast, the boiling house is its stomach. This is where the juice is turned into sugar, and it is, without exaggeration, an inferno. You walk into the boiling house and the temperature jumps to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a long stone building filled with massive copper cauldrons, called coppers, sitting over roaring furnaces. The fires are fed constantly. The juice is ladled from one copper to the next, boiling hotter and thicker at each stage. Your job here is to skim the scum off the boiling sugar. You stand on a narrow ledge above the boiling vats, holding a long-handled ladle. You have to lean over the bubbling molten liquid to skim the impurities. The steam billows up into your face, blinding you. It is sticky steam, coating your skin in a layer of hot syrup. One slip here means death. Falling into a vat of boiling sugar is a fear that lives in the back of everyone's mind. The liquid is hotter than boiling water, and it sticks. It doesn't splash off. It clings and burns. You move with extreme caution despite the exhaustion pulling at your eyelids. The air is filled with smoke because they burn the dried cane stalks, called bagasse, to fuel the fires. The smoke stings your lungs. You are coughing constantly. The man next to you, the sugar master, is watching the bubbles. He's looking for the exact moment when the syrup crystallizes. It is a science, but it is practiced in hellish conditions. This is your life during crop time. 18 hours a day, heat, steam, iron, sugar, and this is just the beginning of the day. By midday the sun is directly overhead, beating down on the cane fields with a ferocity that feels personal. There are no shadows left to hide in. The tall green stalks trap the humidity, turning the rows into an open-air sauna. Your clothes are soaked through, heavy with sweat and dirt clinging to your skin like wet clay. The rhythm of the work hasn't changed. Chop, swing, toss, it has become hypnotic. Your arms move automatically, driven by muscle memory and the fear of falling behind. The driver walking behind the line calls out the pace. his voice cutting through the thick air. You don't look at him. You look at the cane. You look at the ground to make sure you don't step on a viper. Hunger begins to set in. Not a polite rumbling stomach, but a deep, gnawing emptiness. Breakfast was hours ago. A small portion of boiled yams or maybe some cornmeal mush if you were lucky. It burned off within the first hour of labour. Now your body's running on reserves it doesn't really have. You feel lightheaded. The green wall of cane in front of you starts to blur slightly at the edges. You hear a shout from down the line, the water carrier. It's a small moment of salvation. A young boy struggles with a heavy wooden bucket, a gourd ladle floating in the tepid water. When he reaches you, you drink greedily. The water is warm and tastes of the wood bucket, but it feels like life pouring back into your veins. You only get a moment, though, a quick gulp, a splash on your face, and then the shout comes to move on. The machine cannot stop. The soil under your feet is rich and dark, volcanic earth that is perfect for growing sugar and terrible for walking on. It's uneven, full of holes and sharp rocks hidden by the trash of dead leaves. Your feet are calloused, hard as leather, but they still ache. Every step sends a jolt of pain up your shins. You've learned to walk in a specific way, placing your feet carefully to keep your balance while swinging the heavy cutlass. Around 1 p.m. a horn blows. It's shell blow. The signal for the midday break. The entire line stops. The silence that follows is shocking. For a few seconds, all you hear is the wind rustling the cane tops and the heavy, ragged breathing of the people around you. You drop to the ground right where you stand. There is no energy to walk to shade. You find a spot between the rows where the cane casts a thin sliver of shadow and you collapse. This is your lunch break. You have maybe an hour, maybe less. Lunch is brought out in baskets. It's usually salt fish, imported cod that is dry, hard and incredibly salty, and more yams or plantains. You eat it with your hands, wiping the dirt off on your pants first. The salt fish makes you thirsty again immediately, but the protein helps the shaking in your hands. While you eat, you look around at the faces of the first gang. These are the strongest people on the plantation, the elite labourers, and they look broken. Men with chests like barrels are slumped over, staring at the ground. Women who can carry 100-pound baskets on their heads are rubbing their swollen ankles. There is a camaraderie here, though, a silent understanding. You pass a piece of yam to the man next to you who didn't get enough. He nods. No words are needed. You're all in the same grinder. You notice something else during this pause. The insects. Now that you've stopped moving, they descend. Mosquitoes, sandflies, gnats. They swarm around your face, biting at your sweat-soaked skin. You slap at them lazily. You don't have the energy to fight them off properly. You just accept them as another layer of misery. Some of the workers use this time to tend to their own small wounds. A woman is wrapping a strip of cloth around a deep cut on her arm from a slip of the machete. There are no bandages, no antiseptic. Just a piece of rag and maybe some lime juice squeezed onto the wound to clean it. It stings, but infection is the real enemy. A simple cut in this tropical heat can turn gangrenous in days. You've seen it happen. You've seen strong men brought down by a scratch that got bad blood. The break ends too soon. The shell blows again, a mournful, hollow sound that signals the return to the grind. Groans ripple through the group, but everyone stands up. You pick up your cutlass. It feels heavier now than it did this morning. Your muscles have stiffened up during the rest, and the first few swings are agonizing. The afternoon shift is a battle against the sun. The heat intensifies, the air shimmers. You're cutting cane, but your mind starts to drift. You think about the cool water of the river miles away. You think about the shade of the cotton tree near your hut. You think about sleep, real sleep, but you can't sleep, because the afternoon is when the accidents happen. As fatigue sets in, people get sloppy. A swing goes wide. A foot slips. You have to stay alert. You watch the person in front of you, their rhythm helping you keep yours. Chop, swing, toss. Suddenly the weather turns. In the tropics, rain doesn't drizzle, it attacks. A dark cloud rolls over the mountain ridge, and within minutes the sky opens up. The rain comes down in sheets, so heavy it hurts your skin. It mixes with the sweat and dust, turning the ground into a slick black mud. You keep working. The rain offers a brief, cooling relief, but it makes the work dangerous. The machete handle becomes slippery. The mud sucks at your feet trying to pull you down. The cane leaves, now wet, are even sharper. You slip and slide, fighting to stay upright. The driver shouts to keep the pace. The cane must be cut. The mill is waiting, the mill is hungry. As the rain passes, the sun comes back out, turning the fields into a steam bath. The humidity spikes. It feels like you're breathing soup. You are soaked, your clothes heavy and chafing. And then you hear the rumble. It's the carts. The cane carts are massive. Wooden wagons with high sides, pulled by teams of 6 or 8 oxen. They rumble down the muddy tracks between the fields, their wheels churning up the earth. The drivers crack their whips, shouting at the beasts. Loading the carts is the next phase of the nightmare. You have to gather the cut cane into bundles. A bundle of sugar cane is heavy, 50, 60 pounds or more. You have to lift it, sometimes hoist it onto your head or shoulder and carry it to the cart. Then you have to toss it up, high over the wooden sides. Your shoulders scream. Your back feels like it's on fire. You're lifting and throwing, lifting and throwing. The oxen are restless, stomping their hooves in the mud. You have to be careful not to get crushed between the cart and the animals. This is the cycle. Cut the cane, bundle the cane, load the cane, repeat. The field stretches out to the horizon, endless rows of green. It feels like you will never reach the end. It feels like you have been doing this forever, and you will be doing it forever. But the day isn't over when the sun goes down. Not during crop time. As the light begins to fade, turning the sky a brilliant bruised purple, you don't go back to your hut. You don't go to rest. The shell blows again. But this time, it signals a shift change. Not for you to stop, but for you to move. Night work, the driver calls out. Your heart sinks. Tonight, it's your turn at the boiling house. You trade the heavy cutlass for a different kind of tool, and you walk toward the glowing red light of the furnaces in the distance. The fieldwork was the warm-up. The real heat is just beginning. The transition from the cane field to the boiling house is like stepping from a sauna into a furnace. The air changes. Outside it smelled of wet earth, green vegetation, and rain. Here the smell is thick, sweet, and smoky. It's the scent of molasses caramelizing, of wood smoke, and of sweating bodies packed too close together. The boiling house is a long, open-sided stone building, designed to let some of the heat escape, but it doesn't work. The heat is trapped under the high, vaulted roof. In the centre of the room is a raised platform running the length of the building. Embedded in this platform is a row of massive copper cauldrons, the coppers decreasing in size from one end to the other. Underneath the platform, invisible to you but felt in the vibrating floor, are the furnaces. They roar constantly, fed by the dry cane trash you cut days ago. The fire heats the coppers from below, boiling the cane juice into a rolling, frothing frenzy. You climb the steps to the platform. The heat hits you instantly. A physical wall. It dries out your eyes. It makes your skin feel tight. The noise is overwhelming. The bubbling of the syrup, the crackling of the fires, the shouting of the boilers trying to communicate over the din. You're handed a long ladle, a heavy copper spoon on a wooden pole that is nearly as tall as you are. Your job is to move the liquid. The process is called striking. You have to ladle the boiling juice from the largest copper, where it is thin and watery, into the next copper, where it boils down thicker, and then the next, and the next. It sounds simple. It is terrifying. The liquid in the first copper is a dark, murky green. It boils violently, throwing up a thick grey scum. You have to skim this scum off constantly and toss it into a gutter that runs along the side. If you don't, the sugar will be ruined. You dip the ladle in. The weight of the liquid surprises you. Boiling sugar syrup is heavier than water. It resists you. You have to use your back and your shoulders to lift it, swing it, and pour it. And you have to do this while standing on a slippery, sticky floor, inches away from a vat of liquid that is hot enough to strip skin from bone. The steam rising from the coppers is blinding. It swirls around you, obscuring your vision. You have to rely on muscle memory and the shouts of the head boiler. "Skim! Skim!" he yells, pointing at a patch of grey foam rising in the second copper. You reach over, extending the ladle. The heat radiating off the copper singes the hair on your arms. You scoop the foam and fling it into the gutter. A splash of hot liquid lands on your foot. You're wearing no shoes. You stifle a scream, biting your lip until you taste iron. You cannot stop. You cannot step away to check the burn. If you stop, the syrup will burn, and the punishment for ruining a batch of sugar is severe. The syrup moves down the line, getting darker, thicker and hotter. By the time it reaches the last copper, the teachy, it is a thick, golden brown magma. This is the critical moment. This is where sugar is made or lost. The head boiler watches this copper like a hawk. He dips a small stick into the syrup and pulls it out, watching how the thread of sugar stretches. If it breaks too soon, it's not ready. If it stretches too long, it's burnt. Strike, he bellows. This is the moment of maximum danger. You and 2 other men have to use large ladles to empty the teachay into a wooden trough that leads to the cooling pans. You have to move fast. The syrup is at its hottest point. It spatters and hisses. You're working in a frenzy, muscles straining, sweat pouring off you in rivers. The smell of the boiling syrup is intoxicating and nauseating. At the same time, it is sickeningly sweet. It coats the back of your throat. You feel like you're breathing sugar. As the teachay is emptied, the process starts again immediately. Juice from the second copper is ladled into the teachay, juice from the third into the second, and fresh juice from the mill is poured into the first. It is a relentless assembly line of liquid fire. You work for hours. Time loses its meaning in the boiling house. There is no day or night here, only the glow of the furnaces and the white clouds of steam. Your arms ache with a deep burning fatigue. Your hands are blistered from the hot wooden handle of the ladle. You look around at the other workers. Their faces are illuminated by the orange light of the fires. They look like demons in a painting of hell. Eyes wide, skin glistening with sweat and syrup, movements jerky and mechanical. Occasionally, the overseer walks the platform. He doesn't come too close to the coppers. It's too hot for him. He stays back in the shadows, watching. He holds a whip, but he rarely uses it in here. The danger of the work keeps everyone moving. Fear of the boiling liquid is a better motivator than any lash. You see a young woman near the first copper stumble. She catches herself on the rim of the vat. For a second, your heart stops. If she falls in, but she steadies herself. She shakes her head, blinks sweat out of her eyes, and picks up her ladle again. She is exhausted. You are all exhausted. This is the night shift. It is supposed to be shorter than the day shift, but during crop time, the lines blur. If the mill is running, the boiling house is running, and the mill is always running. Around 3 a.m. there is a lull. The cane carts have stopped arriving for a moment. The head boiler signals a break. You drop your ladle and lean against a stone pillar, sliding down to the floor. The stone is warm, but it feels cooler than the air above the vats. You close your eyes. The roar of the fires is still in your ears. You can feel the phantom weight of the ladle in your hands. You're thirsty, but you don't want to move to find water. You just want to stop existing for a few minutes. Someone passes you a piece of cane stalk. It's raw sugar cane. You peel it with your teeth and chew on the fibres. The sweet juice bursts into your mouth. It gives you a burst of energy, a spike of sugar that wakes up your brain. It's ironic, you think. The very thing that is killing you is the only thing keeping you awake. You look at your foot. The splash of syrup has left a red, angry blister. It will peel tomorrow. You hope it doesn't get infected. You tear a strip off the bottom of your shirt and wrap it loosely. It's the best you can do. The break is over. The rumble of carts starts again outside. The mill begins to groan. Fresh juice pours into the receiving tank. The head boiler claps his hands. Back to the coppers! You pull yourself up. Your legs feel like lead. You pick up the ladle. It feels twice as heavy as before. You step back up onto the platform, into the steam, into the heat. You have 4 more hours before the sun comes up. 4 more hours of boiling. And then you go back to the fields. Because the cane never stops growing, and the mill never stops turning. Dawn breaks over the plantation, but it doesn't bring relief. It just changes the quality of the light. Inside the boiling house, the orange glow of the furnaces fades as grey morning light filters through the slats in the roof. The steam turns from white to a dirty yellow colour. The head boiler finally gives the signal. The shift is over. You hand the heavy copper ladle to the next person, a man whose eyes are red-rimmed and hollow. He takes the tool without a word, his hands slipping into the same sweaty grooves yours just left. You step down from the platform, your legs trembling so violently you almost fall. Walking out of the boiling house feels strange. The air outside is cooler, but it feels thin compared to the heavy, sugar-laden atmosphere you've been breathing for the last 8 hours. You take a deep breath, coughing as your lungs try to clear the smoke. You're covered in a layer of filth. It is a mixture of soot, dried cane juice, and sweat that has hardened into a shell. Your clothes are stiff with it. When you move, the fabric cracks. You want to wash, but there is no time, and you're too tired to walk to the river. You follow the flow of the sugar. Before you can rest, you have one last task. You have to help move the cooling pans to the curing house. The sugar you just boiled has been poured into shallow wooden coolers. It's crystallizing now, turning into a thick, grainy sludge. It looks like wet sand, dark brown and heavy. You and another worker grab the handles of a cooler. It weighs 100 pounds. You heave it up, your back protesting with a sharp spasm. You shuffle toward the curing house. This building is different. It is dark, cool, and quiet. The floor is made of sturdy timbers, but there are gaps between the beams. Beneath the floor is a cistern, a large tank waiting in the darkness. Your job is potting. You have to shovel the cooling sugar into hogsheads, large wooden barrels. But these aren't normal barrels. They have holes drilled in the bottom. You insert plantain stalks into the holes to act as drains. You shovel the wet sugar into the barrels. It creates a wet squelching sound. Slop, slop, slop. Once the barrels are full, they sit there for weeks. Gravity does the rest. The liquid molasses, the part of the sugar that didn't crystallize, slowly drains out through the bottom, dripping through the floorboards into the cistern below. The smell in the curing house is overpowering. It smells of fermentation. The molasses dripping below is starting to turn. It is a sharp, acidic, alcoholic smell that makes your head spin. This molasses will be taken to the distillery to be made into rum, the Plantation's second gold. But right now, it just smells like rotting sugar. You finish filling the last barrel. You wipe your hands on your trousers, but it's useless. The molasses has worked its way into your cuticles, under your nails. You will taste sugar for days. Finally, you're dismissed. You walk back toward the village of huts. The sun is fully up now. The first gang is already out in the fields, cutting the next acre of cane. You hear the rhythm, chop, swing, toss, faintly in the distance. You're grateful you aren't with them, but you know your turn will come again soon. You reach your hut. It is hot inside, baking under the morning sun, but it is dark. You collapse onto the dirt floor. You don't even make it to the mat. You just lie there, limbs sprawled out. But you can't sleep yet. There is a throbbing in your foot. The burn from the syrup is stinging, but there is something else. An itch. A deep, burrowing itch in your toe. You sit up, groggy, and pull your foot into your lap. You squint in the dim light. You see a small white circle under the skin of your big toe, right near the nail. It looks like a tiny pea. It's a chigo flea, a jigger. These microscopic parasites live in the dust of the plantation floor. The female burrows into your skin, usually around the feet, to lay her eggs. As the eggs grow, her body swells, creating that white pea-sized sac. If you leave it, it will hatch. The larvae will eat into your flesh. Infection will set in. You've seen men lose toes, then feet, then legs to jiggers. Gangrene moves fast in the tropics. You have to get it out. Now. You reach for a sharp thorn you keep on a ledge for this exact purpose, or maybe a rusty needle if you have one. You have to be steady. If you burst the sac while digging it out, the eggs will spill into the wound, and the infection will be worse. You have to remove the sac whole. Your hands are shaking from exhaustion. You brace your foot against your knee. You dig the thorn into your own skin. It hurts, a sharp, piercing pain. But you're too tired to wince. You scrape away the calloused skin. You see the white sac clearly now. You work the thorn around the edges, separating it from the flesh. Blood wells up, dark and slow. You pause, wipe it away with your thumb and keep digging. You hold your breath. With one final levering motion, the white sac pops out intact. You flick it into the fire pit. You squeeze the wound to bleed it out, hoping to wash away any remaining dirt. Then you rub some lime juice into the hole. The acid burns like fire, waking you up completely for a second, making you gasp. But it cauterizes the wound. You wrap your foot in a rag. The adrenaline fades instantly, replaced by a crushing wave of fatigue. You lie back down. You have maybe 4 hours before you're called again. Maybe to cut grass for the cattle, maybe to mend fences. The plantation does not like idle hands, even during rest periods. You close your eyes. The sound of the mill grinding in the distance is a constant low vibration in the earth. Grind, crush, grind, crush. It matches the beating of your heart. You drift into a darkness that isn't sleep. It's just a pause, a black void where the heat and the smell of molasses can't reach you. But in your dreams, you're still holding the ladle. You're still skimming the scum. And the syrup is rising, 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 until it spills over the edge. You wake up gasping. It isn't a dream this time. It's the conch shell blowing again. But the sound is wrong. It's frantic, short, sharp blasts. This isn't the signal for a shift change. This is the signal for fire. Panic is instantaneous. On a sugar plantation, fire is the apocalypse. The cane fields are essentially acres of dry, fibrous kindling. If the wind catches a spark, thousands of acres, and the lives trapped within them, can be incinerated in minutes. You scramble to your feet, ignoring the throb in your toe. You stumble out of the hut into chaos. It is midday. The sun is blinding, but there is a dark stain spreading across the blue sky to the east. Smoke. Thick, black, oily smoke rising from the Peace, the specific field section closest to the river. Fire! Fire in the guinea grass, someone is screaming. You grab your machete. Not to cut cane this time, but to cut a fire break. You run toward the smoke. Everyone is running. The first gang, the second gang, even the children from the grass gang. The hierarchy of the plantation dissolves in the face of the fire. The overseer is shouting orders from his horse, but his voice is high and thin with fear. If the crop burns, everyone suffers. Rations will be cut. Punishments will be brutal. You reach the edge of the burning field. The heat is terrifying. It is different from the boiling house. That was a contained industrial heat. This is wild. It roars like a living animal. The flames are leaping 20 feet into the air, devouring the dry cane leaves with a crackling sound that sounds like gunfire. Cut! Cut the line! The strategy is simple and desperate. You have to sacrifice a section of the field to save the rest. You line up with 50 other workers about 50 yards ahead of the fire. The wind is blowing the flames toward you. You have to clear a strip of land, cut down the green cane, drag it away and scrape the earth bare. Before the fire reaches you, you swing your machete. You are chopping with a frenzy you didn't know you possessed. Thwack, thwack. The cane falls. You grab the stalks, ignoring the razor-sharp leaves slicing your hands, and throw them behind you. The smoke is blinding. It burns your eyes and fills your throat with ash. You cough, hacking up black phlegm, but you don't stop. The heat is rising. You can feel it on your face, blistering the skin. Faster, faster, the driver screams. He's off his horse now, swinging an axe at a stubborn clump of cane. The fire is gaining. You can hear the whoosh as it jumps from one row to the next. Sparks are flying over your head, landing in the dry trash behind you. Children are running back and forth with wet sacks, stomping out the sparks. It is a war zone. You look to your left. A man named Kudjo, a strong cutter from the first gang, suddenly collapses. He doesn't trip. He just folds. The heat exhaustion has finally taken him. 2 women grab his arms and drag him back, away from the encroaching line. You step into his place. You have to close the gap. The fire is 50 feet away, 30 feet. The roar is deafening. You can't hear the orders anymore. You just see the wall of orange death approaching. You chop the last stalk in your section. You drop to your knees and use your bare hands to scrape away the dry leaves, exposing the dark volcanic soil. Back! Get back! You scramble backward, dragging your machete. The fire hits the brake. It hungers for more fuel. It leans over the bare strip of earth, flames licking at the air. It hesitates. For a terrifying 10 seconds, it seems like it might jump. A gust of wind catches a burning leaf and lofts it high over the brake. It lands in the green cane on your side. You sprint toward it. You don't think. You just react. You stomp on the burning leaf with your bare feet, crushing the fire into the mud. You stomp until there is nothing left but a smudge of ash. You look up. The fire is holding at the line. It is raging, furious, consuming the cane on the other side, but it cannot cross the gap you just made. It begins to burn itself out, turning inward, eating its own smoke. A collective sigh ripples through the line of workers. People drop where they stand, chests heaving. You're covered in soot. You look like a shadow. Your hands are bleeding from a dozen small cuts. Your foot, the one with the jigger wound, is throbbing in time with your heartbeat. The overseer rides up, his face pale beneath the grime. He looks at the blackened field, then at the exhausted workers. "Good," he mutters. "Water break. Then get back to the mill. We lost 10 acres. We have to make up the quota." You stare at him. The adrenaline is fading, leaving you hollow. You just saved the plantation. You just saved his livelihood. And the reward is more work. You stand up slowly. You help Cudjoe, who is conscious now but groggy, to his feet. You hand him his machete. "We live," he whispers. "We live," you reply. You walk back toward the mill. The smoke from the fire mixes with the steam from the boiling house, creating a twilight at noon. You're thirsty, you're injured, and you are exhausted. But the mill is turning, the rollers are grinding, and the sugar must be made. As you walk, you notice something on the ground near the path. A piece of iron chain, rusted and half buried in the mud. It's a part of an old ox harness, or maybe something else. You kick it aside, but the image stays with you. Iron and mud. That is the world here. You reach the mill yard. The oxen are circling the mill, their heads low. The juice is flowing into the gutters. The smell of raw sugar hits you again. You take your place at the rollers. You grab a bundle of cane. You feed it in, grind, crush, grind, crush. The machine eats, and you feed it. The days bleed into weeks. Crop time is a marathon with no finish line. Your life shrinks down to a series of sensory inputs. The weight of the cane, the heat of the copper, the taste of salt fish, the itch of the mosquito bite. Your body adapts, or it breaks. Yours is adapting, hardening into something lean and tough like cured leather. But survival isn't just about endurance. It's about navigation. You have to navigate the social landscape of the plantation just as carefully as you navigate the boiling vats. The plantation is a small enclosed city with its own laws, its own currency, and its own hierarchy. On Sunday the machine pauses, not stops. The cattle still need feeding, the fires still need banking, but the relentless grinding slows down. Sunday is market day. You wake up not to the conch shell, but to the sound of voices chattering. People are moving with a different energy today. They are carrying baskets, not machetes. You have a small plot of land behind the huts. It's called a provision ground. This is the one mercy, the one loophole in the system. You're allowed to grow your own food here. Yams, eddos, callaloo, maybe some peppers. Whatever you grow is yours. You can eat it or you can sell it. You dig up a few pounds of sweet potatoes. They are knobby and covered in dirt, but they represent freedom. You wash them in a bucket and load them into a woven basket. You put on your Sunday best, a shirt that is slightly less tattered than your work shirt, maybe a piece of colourful calico tied around your head. You join the stream of people walking toward the coast. The market is 5 miles away, in the nearest town. The walk is long, but it feels light because you aren't marching. You are walking for yourself. The road is bustling. You see people from neighbouring plantations. There is news being exchanged, gossip about which overseer is sick, rumours of a ship arriving from England, whispers of unrest in the mountains. Information is currency here. You reach the market. It is an explosion of noise and colour. Women are sitting on blankets spread on the ground, surrounded by mounds of fruit. Green plantains, yellow bananas, star apples, soursops. There are piles of dried fish, bolts of cheap cloth, handmade clay pots, and iron nails. You find a spot and lay out your sweet potatoes. A free coloured woman approaches. She's wearing a madras head wrap and shoes, real leather shoes. She inspects your potatoes, haggling over the price. "Too small," she says, clicking her tongue. "Sweetest in the parish," you reply, keeping your face impassive. "Grown in volcanic soil." She eventually buys them for a few coins, macaronis, or maybe a silver bit. You hold the metal in your hand. It's cold and hard. This money is yours. You can buy salt pork to supplement your rations. You can buy a new knife, or you can save it. Saving is dangerous. Money can be stolen or confiscated, but it's a sliver of hope. You walk through the market, buying a piece of tobacco and a small tin of pomade for your hair. It smells of bergamot and grease. It's a tiny luxury, but it makes you feel human. You hear a commotion near the harbour. A crowd is gathering. You push your way through. A ship has docked, a merchant vessel. Sailors are unloading crates, but it's not the cargo that has people staring. A group of new arrivals is being led off the ship. They look dazed, blinking in the harsh tropical light. They are saltwater Negroes, people freshly arrived from Africa. They don't speak the local Creole. Their skin is darker, their bodies thinner from the middle passage. They look terrified. You watch them with a mixture of pity and recognition. You remember that look. You remember the rocking of the ship, the smell of the hold, the disorientation of stepping onto solid ground that feels like it's still moving. An old man next to you, a carpenter from your estate named Moses, spits on the ground. "More hands for the grinder," he mutters. You nod. These new people don't know about the cane yet. They don't know about the rollers or the boiling house or the jiggers in the dust. They will learn. They will have to learn fast. You turn away. You can't help them. You have to get back before sundown. The walk back is quieter. The energy of the market fades, replaced by the looming reality of Monday morning. As you walk, you pass the great house on the hill. It is white, with wide verandas and green shutters. It looks cool and serene, floating above the heat of the fields. You can hear piano music drifting down. Sounds alien, tinkling and delicate against the heavy backdrop of the jungle. You reach your hut as the sun sets. You hide your coins in a hollow piece of bamboo in the roof thatch. You eat a piece of the salt pork you bought, savouring the fat. The night sounds of the village surround you. Someone is playing a banjo, a simple instrument made from a gourd and goat skin. The rhythm is complex, syncopated. People are singing, a low call and response song that is part lament, part defiance. You sit in the doorway smoking your pipe. The smoke keeps the mosquitoes away. You look at your hands. They are scarred, calloused, stained with soil and sugar. But they are still your hands. Tomorrow the shell will blow. Tomorrow the cane will be waiting. But tonight you have a full belly, a coin in the roof, and the memory of the market. You sleep. And for the first time in weeks, you don't dream of the mill. You dream of the ocean. Monday morning arrives with the subtlety of a hammer blow. The conch shell sounds, and the market day feels like a hallucination from a different life. You are back in the Osnaburg clothes, back in the mud, back in the line, but today the rhythm is broken. Around mid-morning, a rider comes galloping down from the great house. It's the bookkeeper, a misnomer because he rarely touches books. He's a young white man, usually poor, trying to make his fortune before the fever takes him. He acts as a junior overseer. He looks panicked. Cattle loose. The mill herd has broken the fence. This is a disaster. The cattle power the mill when the wind dies down or the water level drops. Without them, the cane sits and spoils. But worse, loose cattle in the cane fields can destroy acres of crop in minutes, trampling the stalks and eating the valuable sugar. First gang, drop the cutlasses, get the ropes. You drop your machete and run toward the cattle pen. It's a muddy enclosure near the mill. The fence rail has snapped, probably rotted through by the damp and never fixed. A dozen massive oxen are thundering toward the high cane of the north piece. Catching a runaway ox is not like catching a dog. These animals weigh nearly a ton. They have horns the span of your arms, and right now they are spooked and angry. You grab a coil of heavy hemp rope. You and 5 other men spread out trying to flank the herd. You have to turn them before they get deep into the cane. If they scatter into the dense stalks, you'll never get them out without cutting down the whole field. "Hey, hey, turn back!" you shout and wave your arms. The lead ox, a massive brindle beast with a scarred flank, lowers its head and charges. You don't have a weapon, you have a rope. You dive to the side, rolling into the mud. The ox thunders past, its hoof missing your head by inches. You feel the wind of its passing. "Get the loop on him! The horns!" Cudjoe, the man you helped during the fire, is on the other side. He swings his rope like a lasso. It catches the ox's left horn. The rope snaps taut. Cudjoe digs his heels into the mud, muscles bulging, but the ox drags him like a doll. You scramble up and grab the trailing end of the rope. "Hold him!" You pull back with everything you have. The rough hemp burns your palms. 2 more men jump on the line. It's a tug of war between 4 men and 2,000 pounds of muscle. The ox bellows, thrashing its head. You're sliding in the mud. The cane stalks are whipping your face, but the drag is working. The ox slows, confused by the resistance. Snub it on the tree! There is a sturdy lignum vitae tree at the edge of the field. You wrap the rope around the trunk, the ox jerks, the rope tightens, the tree groans, but it holds. The ox is trapped. Panting, you lean against the tree. Your heart is hammering against your ribs. You look at your hands. Rope burn. Raw, red skin across your palms. Another injury to add to the collection. It takes 2 hours to round up the rest of the herd. By the time the fence is patched, the sun is high, and the mill has been silent for too long. The overseer is furious. He paces back and forth, slashing his whip at the tall grass. Night shift stays on until the quota is met, he spits. No breaks. A murmur of anger ripples through the gang. No breaks means no food. It means working 20 hours straight. It is a death sentence for the weak. You look at Cudjoe. He's rubbing his shoulder where the rope yanked it. He meets your eyes. There is a dangerous look in them. A spark. "The fence was rotten," Cudjoe whispers. "We told them last week. They didn't fix it." You nod. Negligence is common. They push the machinery and the animals and the people until they break, then blame the broken parts. You go back to the mill. The oxen are re-yoked, sullen and foaming at the mouth. The grinding starts again. Groan, crush, groan, crush. But the atmosphere has shifted. The exhaustion is still there, but under it there is a simmering tension. The first gang is angry. You can feel it in the way the cane is thrown onto the carrier. Harder, faster, almost violent. That night in the boiling house, the heat seems oppressive. The air is heavy, not just with steam, but with something else. The head boiler, a man named Quacko, is usually strict but fair. Tonight, he is distracted. He keeps glancing at the door. Around midnight, a young woman from the field gang slips into the boiling house. She isn't supposed to be there. She pretends to bring water, but she moves close to Quacko and whispers something. Quacko's face goes still. He looks around the room, his eyes landing on you, then Cudjoe, then the others. He gives a nearly imperceptible nod. The woman leaves. Quacko bangs his ladle against the side of the copper. "Skim the pot! Wake up!" But as he passes you, he mutters, low and fast, "Meeting by the river tomorrow night. Tell only the trusted." Your pulse spikes. A meeting. This is dangerous. Meetings are forbidden. Conspiracy is punishable by hanging, or gibbeting, being locked in an iron cage and left to starve in the sun. But the fence was rotten, and the quota is impossible, and your hands are bleeding. You finish your shift in a daze. The mechanical motions of ladling and skimming happen automatically. Your mind is racing. The river meeting. It could be nothing, just venting, or it could be the start of a strike, or a rebellion. Jamaica has a history of rebellion. The Maroons, runaway communities in the mountains, fought the British to a standstill years ago. But you aren't a Maroon. You are on the plantation. You're exposed. Dawn comes, you stumble out. You find Cudjoe near the water barrel, you pretend to drink. "River. Tonight," you whisper. Cudjoe doesn't blink. He wipes his mouth. "I heard. I'll be there." You go to your hut. You check your hidden coins. They are still there. You check your knife. It is sharp. You lie down, but sleep doesn't come easily. The mill noise seems louder today. It sounds less like a machine and more like a beast, chewing on bones. You close your eyes and see the fire again. The wall of flame, the power of it. If the cane burns, the sugar stops. If the sugar stops, the money stops. You realize, with a jolt of terrified clarity, that you have power. Not much, but some. You are the hands that feed the machine. If the hands stop, the machine starves. Tonight, by the river, you will find out if anyone else is ready to stop feeding it. The night of the meeting is moonless. This is good. The darkness is absolute under the canopy of the jungle. You slip out of your hut, timing your movements between the patrols of the watchmen, usually older enslaved men tasked with guarding the village, but often sympathetic enough to look the other way for a price or a promise. You move toward the river. The sound of the water rushing over rocks masks the sound of your footsteps. You are barefoot, which helps. You know where the dry leaves are and where the soft mud lies. You move like a shadow. The meeting spot is a small clearing near a bend in the river, sheltered by the massive sprawling roots of a silk cotton tree. The tree is sacred. Spirits live in its branches. The overseers avoid it at night because they are superstitious, afraid of duppies, ghosts. When you arrive, there are already 20 people there. Faces you recognize from the first gang, the mill, the boiling house. Quacko is there, Cudjoe is there, and a woman named Nanny, a midwife who knows every birth and death on the estate. They are speaking in hushed tones. Not in English, but in a mixture of English and Twi, the language of the Akan people from the Gold Coast. It is a language of secrets here. "The fence was not an accident," Cudjoe is saying. Moses the carpenter saw the bookkeeper weaken the post. They wanted an excuse to extend the shift. A murmur of outrage. If this is true, the exhaustion, the injuries, the hunger, it was all manufactured. Quacko raises a hand. His palms are scarred from years of handling hot ladles. We cannot fight them with cutlasses, he says. They have muskets. They have the militia. If we fight, we die. We are dying anyway, Nanny says. Her voice is calm but hard as flint. 3 babies died last week. Fever. The mothers had no milk because they were in the fields. So what do we do, you ask? Your voice sounds loud in the quiet clearing. Quacko looks at you. We stop the sugar. Strike, someone whispers. No, Quacko says. Strike means they bring the whip. We make the sugar. Bad. Sabotage. It is a dangerous game. Subtle. Invisible. A stone in the mill gears, Cujo suggests. Just one. It cracks a roller. The mill stops for a week to repair. Green wood in the furnace, Nanny adds. It smokes. It doesn't burn hot. The boil takes twice as long. The sugar won't crystallize. The lime, Quacko says. Too much lime in the temper, the sugar turns dark. They can't sell it as grade A. They lose money. You listen. This is warfare, but it is industrial warfare. It is fighting the machine by breaking its internal logic. We start tomorrow, Quacko says. Small things. Slow down the line. Drop a tool. Miscount the bundles. Make them think it is bad luck. Make them think the land is fighting them. And if they catch us, a young man asks. They won't, Nanny says, because they think we are stupid. They think we are mules. Mules don't plot. Mules just stumble. The meeting breaks up quickly. You return to your hut, your heart pounding. You feel different. You aren't just a pair of hands anymore. You're a saboteur. The next day the campaign begins. You are in the mill. You wait until the overseer turns his back to shout at a cart driver. You grab a piece of iron, a broken bolt you found in the mud, and you slide it into a bundle of cane. You feed the bundle into the rollers. You hold your breath. Crunch. The sound is sickening. A loud metal-on-metal screech that makes everyone flinch. The rollers jam. The oxen strain against the yoke, bellowing as the gears lock up. Halt! Halt! The mill driver screams. The mill stops. The silence is sudden and heavy. The overseer runs over. He peers into the rollers. He sees the jammed iron. Who did this? Who fed this bundle? You step forward, making your face a mask of confusion and fear. It was in the cane, Massa, you stammer. I didn't see it. The mud. It hides things. He glares at you. He looks at the rollers. The main cylinder is cracked. It will take days to replace. Days of silence. Days of no sugar. He raises his whip. You flinch, expecting the blow. But he lowers it. He can't prove it was you, and he needs you to clear the jam. If he disables you, the work takes even longer. Clear it, he screams, and check every stalk. If this happens again, I'll skin you alive. You nod, terrifyingly submissive. Yes, Massa. You and Cudjo work to pry the rollers apart. As you heave on the crowbar, Cudjo catches your eye. He doesn't smile. He doesn't nod. But there is a light in his eyes. The mill is down. The first gang is sent to do maintenance work. Repairing fences, clearing ditches. It is hard work, but it is not the mill. The pace is slower. The pressure is off. For 3 days the plantation breathes. But sabotage has consequences. The owner, a man you rarely see, comes down from the great house. He's red-faced and sweating in his linen suit. He walks around the broken mill, poking at it with his cane. He calls the overseer over. They speak in low, angry voices. You catch snippets. Loss of profit. Incompetence. Make an example. That night the patrols are doubled. The watchmen are replaced by hired militiamen with muskets. They patrol the village with dogs. You're lying on your mat, listening to the heavy boots of the militia outside. You realize the game has escalated. You broke the machine, but the machine is fixing itself, and it is adding armor. Then you hear a sound that freezes your blood. The dogs are barking. Not the I hear a possum bark, the I found something bark there at Nanny's hut. You crawl to the door and peek through a crack. You see torches. You see the militia dragging Nanny out. She's not struggling. She holds her head high. They found something. Maybe herbs they think are poison. Maybe just a reason to punish someone. They drag her toward the hothouse, the plantation hospital which doubles as a jail. You grip the doorframe until your knuckles turn white. They took Nanny, who delivered your sister's baby. Nanny, who gave you the lime for your foot, Quaco appears in the shadows next to your hut. He signals you. Stay. You want to run out. You want to fight. But you know Quaco is right. If you run out now, you die. And Nanny dies. You have to wait. You have to be smart. The mill will be fixed tomorrow. The grinding will start again. But now, it isn't just about slowing down the work. Now, it is about getting Nanny back. The sugar war has begun. The morning after Nanny's arrest, the plantation feels different. The air is heavier, charged with a static electricity that makes the hair on your arm stand up. The mill is repaired, the rollers are turning again, but the workers are silent. Not the usual tired silence, but a focused, dangerous quiet. You take your place. You feed the cane, but your eyes are constantly scanning. You're looking for the militia. You're looking for the overseer. You're looking for an opening. News travels through the gang in whispers, passed from person to person, along with the bundles of cane. Nanny is in the stocks. They say she cursed the mill. They plan to whip her at sundown, to make an example. Whipping is public. It is theatre of terror. They want everyone to watch. They want you to see what happens when the machine is challenged. But Quaco has a plan. At midday, during the shell blow, he finds you. He doesn't look at you. He looks at the ground, pretending to sharpen his cutlass. Tonight, he murmurs, before sundown, when they gather us for the punishment. What do we do? Fire, he says. Not a fire break this time. A signal. The plan is terrifyingly risky. It requires coordination across the entire estate. The first gang, the mill workers, the boiling house crew. At 5 Cannon PM, the shell blows early. The overseer rides through the fields. All hands, to the yard, all hands. They're gathering everyone to watch Nanny's punishment. It is a power move. They want to break the spirit of the rebellion before it starts. You walk back to the mill yard. Nanny is there. She's tied to a wooden post in the centre of the dirt clearing. She looks small and frail against the massive timber, but her eyes are clear. She sees you. She sees Quaco. She doesn't plead. She waits. The overseer dismounts. He uncoils a long braided whip. He looks at the assembled crowd. Hundreds of people. Silent. Watching. This woman, he announces, his voice booming, is a witch. She poisoned the mill. She tried to steal your livelihood. It is a lie, and everyone knows it. But it is the lie he needs to justify the violence. He raises his arm, and then it happens. From the north field, a plume of smoke rises. Thick, black smoke. "Fire!" someone shouts. The overseer turns, distracted. From the south field, another plume. From the east, from the west. 4 fires, lit simultaneously in the dry trash of the furthest fields. "Fire! Fire everywhere!" The overseer panics. He can't whip Nanny while the plantation burns. If the fire reaches the mill, he loses everything. "Get the buckets! Get the carts! Move!" he screams at the workers. Chaos erupts. But it is controlled chaos. The workers run, but not toward the fires. They run toward the confusion. In the mayhem, Quaco moves. He isn't running to put out the fire. He is running to the post. With 2 swift strokes of his machete, he cuts Nanny's bonds. "Go!" he hisses. "To the river! The Maroons are waiting!" Nanny doesn't argue. She slips into the crowd of running bodies and vanishes toward the tree line. You are part of the distraction. You grab a bucket and run toward the nearest fire, shouting loudly, creating noise and confusion. You accidentally trip, spilling water. You accidentally block the path of a militiaman. The overseer is screaming orders that no one is following. The militia is scattered, trying to chase down the arsonists who are already blending back into the work gangs. The fires are real, but they are small. Controlled burns set in safe zones, designed to create smoke, not destruction. But the fear they create is real enough. By the time order is restored, night has fallen. The fires are out, the yard is empty, and Nanny is gone. The overseer is apoplectic. He rides back and forth, his horse foaming. He realizes too late that he's been played. Where is she? Where is the witch? Silence. The workers stand in formation, faces blank. He rides up to Quaco. He knows, he suspects, but he has no proof. And if he kills the head boiler, the sugar stops. He glares at Quaco. You did this." Quaco looks him in the eye. "I was fighting the fire, massa, just as you ordered." The overseer raises his whip. He wants to strike, but he looks at the crowd. Hundreds of people holding machetes, holding hoes, holding heavy ladles. They are not looking at the ground. They are looking at him. He lowers the whip. He knows that if he strikes now, he might not leave the yard alive. "Back to work," he barks. "Double shift. No food until the quota is met." It is a punishment, but it is a hollow one, because Nanny is free, and everyone knows it. You go back to the boiling house. The heat is still there. The exhaustion is still there. But something has changed. The fear is gone. Or rather, it has shifted. You realize that the machine is strong, but it is brittle. It relies on your fear. If you take away the fear, the gears start to slip. As you ladle the syrup, you hum a low tune. It is the song Nanny used to sing. The man next to you picks it up. Then the man at the next copper. Soon, the entire boiling house is humming. A low resonant vibration that cuts through the roar of the fires. It is the sound of a machine breaking. But breaking the machine has consequences. The owner will not take this lying down. He will send for soldiers. He will send for the redcoats. You know that this victory is temporary. The real war is coming. But for tonight, as the sugar boils and the smoke rises, you have won. You look at your hands. They are shaking, not from fatigue, but from adrenaline. You are alive. You are awake. And you are ready for whatever comes next. The morning after Nanny's escape is eerily quiet. The usual dawn cacophony, the conch shell, the shouts of the drivers, the clanking of chains, is absent. You wake up to the sound of birdsong, which feels unnatural. You step outside your hut. The air is cool, the mist still clinging to the ground, but it's not a peaceful mist. It's a shroud. The plantation is in lockdown. Redcoats. They arrived in the night. A detachment of British regulars from the garrison in Spanish Town. They are camped in the mill yard. Their red uniforms bright slashes of colour against the drab earth tones of the plantation. They have set up tents, lit fires, and posted sentries at every path leading in or out of the village. You see them patrolling the perimeter of the huts. They carry muskets with bayonets fixed. These aren't militiamen playing soldier. These are professional killers who put down rebellions for a living. "Assembly!" a sergeant shouts. His voice is clipped, foreign. The entire population of the estate is herded into the yard. Men, women, children, the sick from the hothouse. Everyone. You stand shoulder to shoulder with Cudjoe and Quacko. The air smells of fear and unwashed bodies. The owner of the plantation, Mr. Sterling, stands on the steps of the great house. He looks different today. He's wearing a military uniform, an old one that doesn't quite fit. He looks desperate. Beside him is the British captain, a man with a face like carved stone. "There will be no work today," Sterling announces. "Today we weed out the rot." He doesn't mean the cane. The captain steps forward. He holds a piece of paper. "We know there are ringleaders among you," he says calmly. "We know who organised the fires. We know who cut the bonds." He pauses, letting his gaze sweep over the crowd. If the guilty parties surrender now, they will be punished swiftly. If they do not, we will decimate the ranks. Decimate. A Roman term. It means to kill one in every 10 men. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. This is not discipline. This is a massacre. "You have 1 hour," the captain says. He turns and walks back to his tent. The crowd disperses, but no one goes back to their huts. People gather in tight, clusters whispering frantically. Panic is setting in. Mothers are clutching their children. Men are arguing. "We should give them someone," a young man whispers. "Anyone, to save the rest." "No," Cudjoe says sharply. "If we give them 1, they will take 10. They want to break us." Quacko is silent. He's staring at the mill, his face unreadable. "We cannot fight them," you say. "Not like this. They have guns. We have machetes." "We don't need to fight them," Quacko says softly. "We need to leave." "Leave?" You stare at him. "Where? The mountains are miles away. The soldiers are everywhere." "Not everywhere," Quacko says. "They are soldiers. They don't know the land. They stick to the roads. We know the gullies. We know the caves." He outlines the plan. It is madness. It involves moving 300 people, including the elderly and infants, under the noses of the British Army, through a dense jungle at night. "It's impossible," you say. "It is the only way," Quacko replies. "Decimation is not a threat, it is a promise. If we stay, 30 of us die today. Tomorrow, 30 more." The hour passes quickly, the sun climbs higher, baking the mud. The captain returns to the steps. "Time is up. Who steps forward?" Silence. Not a single person moves. The captain sighs, almost disappointed. Very well. Sergeant, select the first 10. Soldiers move into the crowd. They grab men at random, a father of 3, a boy who just joined the first gang, an old man who can barely walk. They drag them to the centre of the yard. They force them to their knees. Wait! It is Quaco. He steps forward, breaking the line. I did it, he says. His voice is steady. I lit the fires. I cut the ropes. I am the one you want. The captain looks at him. Just you? One man did all this? I commanded them, Quaco lies. They followed orders. They are simple people. I am the head boiler. They listen to me. It is a noble lie. He's trying to save the village by sacrificing himself. The captain smiles. It is a cold, thin smile. Excellent. Sergeant, take him. Soldiers grab Quaco. They tie his hands. They drag him toward the whipping post, but they don't release the other 10 men. The head is cut off, the captain says. Now we prune the branches, proceed with the decimation. Quaco screams. No, you have me. Let them go. But the captain ignores him. He raises his hand to signal the firing squad, and then the ground explodes. Not metaphorically, literally. A massive boom shakes the earth. Dirt and rocks spray into the air from the edge of the yard. The soldiers stumble. The horses rear and panic. It's the gunpowder store. Someone has blown it. Run! Cudjoe screams. Now! It wasn't Quaco's plan. It was Cudjoe's. While Quaco was distracting them, Cudjoe had slipped away to the magazine. Pandemonium. Smoke fills the yard. The soldiers are disoriented, blinded by dust. The villagers scatter, not in panic, but in a pre-planned wave. They run. For the tree line. For the dense bush where the horses can't follow. You grab a woman who has fallen. It's the mother of the baby Nanny saved. You haul her up. Go! To the river! You run. You hear muskets firing behind you. Crack. Crack. Bullets whiz past, thumping into trees. But the smoke is thick. They are firing blind. You reach the edge of the jungle. You dive into the undergrowth. The thorns tear at your clothes, but you don't feel it. You are running for your life. You look back. You see Quaco. He didn't run. He is still at the post, struggling with his bonds. A soldier is raising a rifle butt. You want to go back, but you can't. You have to lead the others. You plunge deeper into the green darkness. You can hear the shouts of the soldiers fading behind you. You're off the plantation. For the first time in years, you're not on the master's land. You're in the wild. But the wild has its own dangers. You have no food. You have no weapons except your knife. And you have 100 terrified people looking to you for guidance. You stop in a ravine waiting for the stragglers. Cudjoe appears, his face streaked with soot. Quaco? He asks. You shake your head. Cudjoe closes his eyes for a second. Then he opens them. They are hard. Then we make it worth it, he says. We find the maroons. You nod. The rebellion has turned into an exodus. You are no longer slaves. You are fugitives. And the hunt is on. The jungle is not your friend. It is a neutral, indifferent entity that will kill you just as efficiently as the British soldiers if you aren't careful. You are moving through the cockpit country, a geological nightmare of limestone hills and deep bowl-shaped valleys. The terrain is rugged, almost impenetrable. The rock is sharp, jagged limestone that cuts through shoe leather and shreds bare feet. The vegetation is dense, wait-a-bit thorns that hook into your skin, massive ferns that hide deep sinkholes, and vines that trip you at every step. It is night. The only light comes from the stars filtering through the canopy. You are leading a group of 30 people, a fragment of the original escapees, others scattered in different directions to confuse the pursuit. Cudjoe took the main group north. You took the vulnerable ones east, the elderly, the mothers with infants, the injured. You have been walking for 6 hours. Your legs are burning. Your thirst is a physical ache in your throat. But you cannot stop. The soldiers will have dogs. Bloodhounds imported from Cuba, trained to hunt humans. You can't outrun a dog, but you can outsmart it. Water, an old woman whispers behind you. She's leaning heavily on a stick. Soon, you lie. You don't know where the water is. The limestone terrain drains quickly. Rain disappears into underground aquifers, leaving the surface bone dry. You navigate by instinct and memory. You remember stories told by the old men about hidden springs in the cockpits. You look for signs, lush, vegetation that stays green even in the dry season, the flight path of birds at dusk. Suddenly you hear it, a low baying sound in the distance. The dogs. Panic ripples through your group. A young girl starts to cry. Her mother claps a hand over her mouth. Quiet, you hiss. They are far. The sound carries in the valley. But they are tracking your scent. You need to mask it. Into the gully, you whisper. Stay low. You lead them into a narrow ravine filled with pungent wild ginger and rotting vegetation. The smell is strong, earthy and sharp. You hope it's enough to confuse the hounds. You reach a patch of soft mud. Rub it on your legs, on your arms, cover the scent. It's degrading, covering yourself in muck, but survival has no dignity. Everyone does it. The mud cools your skin, offering a small relief from the insect bites. You keep moving. The terrain gets steeper. You're climbing now, pulling yourself up rock faces using tree roots as handholds. The elderly struggle. You and the stronger men have to lift them, passing them up like sacks of grain. At the top of the ridge you pause. You look back. Far below, in the valley you just left, you see torchlights. Tiny pinpricks of orange moving through the darkness. They are closer than you thought. They are fast, a man named Kofi whispers. He was a blacksmith on the estate. He carries a heavy iron hammer he managed to smuggle out. They are on horses, you say. Horses can't climb this ridge. They will have to dismount. That buys you time, but not much. We need to find the cave, you say, the one Nanny spoke of. Legend says Nanny of the Maroons used a network of caves to move her people unseen. If you can find an entrance, you can disappear underground. You push on. The jungle gets thicker. You're hacking a path with your machete, trying to make as little noise as possible. Chop, push, step. Then the ground disappears. You almost walk into it. A sinkhole, a vertical shaft dropping into darkness. You drop a stone. You count. 1, 2, 3, clatter. Deep. But you feel something. A draft. Cool air rising from the hole. This is it, you say, the entrance. We can't jump, Kofi says, looking down into the black void. We climb. There are vines hanging into the pit, thick lianas as strong as rope. You tug on one. It holds. I go first, you say. If it's safe, I signal. You wrap the vine around your waist and lower yourself over the edge. The darkness swallows you. The air gets cooler, damp. The smell of bat guano hits you, ammonia and musk. Your feet touch solid rock. You're on a ledge about 30 feet down. You light a small torch you prepared earlier, a piece of resinous wood. The light flares, revealing a massive cavern. Stalactites hang from the ceiling like stone icicles. The floor slopes downward into the earth. Safe, you call up, keeping your voice low. One by one they descend. It takes time. The old woman has to be lowered in a sling made of shirts. The babies are strapped to their mothers' backs. When the last person is down, you cut the vines. You leave no way to follow. You're underground. The world above, the soldiers, the heat, the plantation, is gone. Here it is silent. But caves have their own dangers. You have one torch. If it goes out, you're trapped in absolute darkness. There are pits you can't see, and you still have no water. We walk, you say. Follow the draft. Air moves toward the exit. You lead the group deeper. The cave is a labyrinth. Passages branch off into nothingness. You mark your path with charcoal on the walls. You hear water, a trickle. You rush forward. A small stream flows through the rock, crystal clear and ice cold. Water! People fall to their knees, cupping their hands. They drink. It is the best water you have ever tasted. Pure, mineral-rich, untainted by the plantation. You fill the few gourds and bottles you have. You wash the mud from your face. We rest here, you say, just for a few hours. The group huddles together on the stone floor. It is hard, but it is safe. The dogs can't smell you here. The soldiers can't see you. You sit guard, watching the torch flicker. You're exhausted, but your mind is alert. You're thinking about Quaco. Is he dead? Did they torture him? You think about the future. You're a maroon now, but you're not in a maroon town yet. You're just a group of runaways in a hole in the ground. Suddenly you hear a sound, not from the entrance, from deeper in the cave. Footsteps, soft rhythmic footsteps. Someone is walking toward you from the dark. You stand up, raising your machete. Kofi grips his hammer. A figure steps into the torchlight. A woman. She's dressed in leather and camouflage made of leaves. She holds a spear. Her hair is locked in thick cords. She looks at you. She looks at the terrified group behind you. She doesn't look surprised. "You took the long way," she says. "It's Nanny. Not the nanny from history. The nanny from the village. The midwife. She's alive. She made it. And she brought friends." Behind her, 3 men emerge from the shadows. Maroons. Real ones. They carry muskets and look at you with a mixture of suspicion and respect. "We heard the explosion," Nanny says. "We knew someone would come." She hands you a piece of jerked pork. "Eat. Then we move. The British know about this cave. They will be here by morning." You take the meat. You look at her. She looks different. Stronger. Dangerous. "Quaco?" he asks. She shakes her head. "He bought us time. Don't waste it." She turns and walks back into the dark. "Follow me." You rouse the group. You follow Nanny deeper into the earth, leaving the plantation life behind forever. You are walking into the heart of the island, into the secret history of resistance. And for the first time, you aren't just surviving, you are fighting back. You follow Nanny out of the cave and into a world that looks like the earth has been broken apart by a giant hammer. You're entering the heart of the cockpit country. If the plantation was a prison of order and straight lines, this place is a fortress of chaos. The sun is rising, but it doesn't flood the landscape with light. Instead, it filters through a canopy so dense it feels like twilight. The terrain is violent. You're standing on the edge of a cockpit, a deep bowl-shaped depression with steep rocky sides, surrounded by conical limestone hills. It looks like an egg carton made of stone and jungle. "Walk where I walk," Nanny whispers. "Step where I step." You look down at her feet. She's wearing sandals made of woven fibres, tough and flexible. Your bare feet, calloused as they are, bleed on the limestone. The rock here is sharp, jagged and unforgiving. It is called honeycomb rock because it is full of holes, but the edges are like broken glass. The maroons move through this nightmare landscape as if they are floating. They don't break twigs. They don't slide on the mud. They move with a fluid economy of motion that makes you feel clumsy and loud. You are stumbling, breathing hard, your chest heaving. Every step is a calculation. Don't slip. Don't fall. Don't make a sound. You realise quickly that this terrain is their greatest weapon. A British soldier in heavy boots and a wool uniform would die here in hours. He would twist an ankle, faint from heat stroke, or get lost in the endless repetitive valleys. The Maroons haven't just hidden in the land, they have weaponised the geography. After 2 hours of gruelling climbing, Nanny stops. She raises a hand. From somewhere deep in the valley a sound echoes. It is a low, mournful tone, rising and falling in a complex pattern. It sounds like a cow lowing, but with a rhythm like speech. Tu-tu-tu, tu-tu-tu. "The abeng," Kofi whispers beside you. It is a cow horn blown by a Maroon sentry, but it isn't just making noise. It is talking. The Maroons have developed a code, a language of horn blasts that mimics the tonal patterns of their ancestral Twi language. They can send messages across the valleys faster than a horse can run. "They know we are here," Nanny says. "They're asking who we are." One of the men with her takes a horn from his belt. He blows a response. The sound vibrates in your chest. It says, "Friends, runaways, survivors." A pause. Then the distant horn blows again. "Come." You keep moving. The humidity here is intense. The limestone holds water in underground pockets, releasing it as steam when the sun hits. You're drenched in sweat. Insects swarm around your face. Tiny, biting gnats that aim for the eyes. You want to swat them, but Nanny's look warns you. Movement attracts attention. Suddenly the jungle around you shifts. You freeze. You didn't see them. You walked right past them. 5 men step out of the bush less than 10 feet away. They are covered in bush, branches and leaves woven into their hair and clothes. They look like walking trees. They hold muskets, old Spanish weapons, kept polished and dry despite the damp. This is the famous maroon camouflage. They call it dressing up. They can stand perfectly still for hours, blending into the foliage until an enemy is within arm's reach. The leader of this patrol, a tall man with a scar running down his cheek, looks at your ragtag group. He doesn't smile. He looks at the old woman you carried, the babies, the injured. "Many mouths," he says. His voice is rough. "Many hands," Nanny counters. "They broke the mill. They burned the fields." The leader looks at you. He studies your hands, still stained with molasses and soot. He nods. "They can work," he says, "but if they lag, we leave them. The British are 2 hours behind." 2 hours? You thought you had lost them in the cave. You underestimated the British resolve, or perhaps their dogs. Move, the leader orders, to the town. The pace increases. You're practically running now, scrambling up rocky slopes. Your lungs burn. You help the old woman, practically dragging her up a vertical incline. Finally, you crest a high ridge. The ground levels out into a plateau hidden between three peaks. You stop and stare. It is a town. A real town. Not a collection of huts, but a fortified settlement. There are houses built of timber and thatch, arranged in neat rows. There are gardens, lush plots of yams, plantains and corn growing in the rich soil between the rocks. There are smokehouses for curing meat. There are children playing, not in fear, but in safety. This is Nanny Town, or a version of it, a stronghold deep in the interior. It is a shock to your system. You have lived your whole life in the shadow of the great house, where every movement was controlled, every moment watched. Here, there is order, but it is their order. You are led into the centre of the settlement. People stop what they are doing to watch you. They don't cheer. They assess. In a maroon town, everyone must contribute. There is no room for dead weight. You are brought before the council. It is held under a massive cedar tree. The elders sit on carved stools. They are old, their faces mapped with wrinkles, but their eyes are sharp. You seek sanctuary, an elder says. It is a statement, not a question. We seek freedom, you reply. Freedom costs, the elder says. Here you are not slaves, but you are soldiers. Every man, every woman, every child fights. If the British come, we defend this hill until the last breath. Can you do that? You look at the people around you. You look at the gardens. You look at the muskets stacked ready by the huts. Yes, you say. Then you are maroon, the elder says. Wash, eat, then we train. You are taken to a stream. You wash the plantation mud off your skin. You wash the smell of the boiling house out of your hair. The water is cold, shocking. You are given food, jerk pork, spicy and smoky, cooked over. Pimento wood. It tastes wild. It tastes like the mountains. But as you eat, you hear the abang blow again. Short, sharp blasts. Warning. The British haven't given up. They have found the trail. They are climbing the ridge. You drop the food. You grab your machete. The elder was right. You aren't safe. You have just traded a prison for a fortress, and the siege is about to begin. The sound of the abang changes everything. The peaceful settlement dissolves instantly into a machine of war. But unlike the panic on the plantation, this is disciplined. Women and children to the high caves, the elder commands. Warriors to the ambush points. Cover the fires. In minutes, the town is transformed. The cooking fires are doused with sand. The children are herded up a narrow path toward the limestone cliffs that overlook the plateau. The able-bodied men and women, including you, are directed to the perimeter. You're paired with Kofi. He still has his hammer, but a maroon fighter hands him a musket. Aim low, the fighter says. British march in lines. Hit the legs. The line stops. You're given a position behind a breastwork, a low wall of stone and logs camouflaged with ferns. It overlooks the narrow trail leading up to the plateau. This is the defile. It is the only way up, and it forces the soldiers to walk single file. Wait, Nanny whispers. She's beside you, holding a musket that looks too big for her, but she handles it with ease. Wait until you see the white of their crossbelts. You wait. The jungle is silent again. The insects have stopped singing. The air is heavy with humidity and dread. Then you hear them. Crunch, crunch, clink. The sound of boots on stone. The rattle of equipment. The British don't know how to move quietly. They are arrogant. They believe their discipline and firepower will crush any resistance. They appear around the bend. Red coats stained with sweat and dirt. Heavy shakos on their heads. They look miserable, exhausted by the climb, but they are still coming. The lead soldier is a scout, probably a local guide forced into service. He looks nervous. He scans the trees, but he doesn't see you. You are part of the mountain now. Behind him, the captain, the same one from the plantation. He looks angry. He wants his property back. They enter the kill zone. Now! The maroon leader shouts. The jungle explodes. A volley of musket fire rips through the air. Smoke fills the ravine. The British are caught in the open. The first 3 men go down. The rest scramble, trying to find cover, but there is no cover. The walls of the ravine are steep rock. Return fire, the captain screams. The soldiers fire blindly into the bush. bullets shred the leaves above your head. You duck, your heart hammering. You've never been shot at. It sounds like angry bees buzzing past your ears. But the Maroons don't stand and fight. They fire, and then they vanish. "Move!" Nanny hisses. You crawl backward, staying low. You slip into a pre-cut tunnel in the vegetation. You run 50 yards to a second position, higher up the ridge. When you look down, the British are regrouping. They are fixing bayonets, preparing to charge the first breastwork. They yell, they charge, and they find nothing, just smoke and empty space. Then you fire again from the new position. This is Maroon warfare. Hit and run. Confusion, psychological terror. The British are terrified. They are fighting ghosts. They are fighting the land itself. The captain tries to rally his men. Push! Push up the hill! But then, a new sound joins the battle. A rolling, crashing noise. From the cliffs above, the Maroons release the boulders. Massive rocks, piled ready for this moment, are shoved over the edge. They crash down the ravine, smashing trees, bouncing off the limestone walls. The soldiers scream. The formation breaks. They turn and run, scrambling back down the trail, abandoning their packs, their dignity, their discipline. You watch them flee. You feel a surge of triumph, fierce and hot. You did this. You, who were property yesterday, just defeated an army, but the victory is short-lived. They will be back, the Maroon leader says, reloading his musket with calm efficiency. With cannons, with more men. We have bought a day, maybe two. You look at the retreating redcoats. You realise this isn't a skirmish. It's a war of attrition. And you are on the side with less powder, less food, and nowhere else to run. "We need to move the town," the elder says. "Move the town?" You stare at him. "We just got here." "The secret is broken," he says. "Once they know the path, the place is burned. We burn it ourselves before they can take it. It is a harsh philosophy. Own nothing you cannot carry. Build nothing you cannot destroy. That evening you help dismantle the settlement. The huts are stripped of useful materials. The crops are harvested quickly, every yam and ear of corn dug up. The rest is set on fire. You watch the village burn. The smoke rises into the night sky, joining the stars. It is a signal to other Maroon communities. We are moving. We are fighting. You shoulder a heavy pack of provisions. You look at Nanny. She looks tired, but her eyes are still bright. "Where do we go?" you ask. "Deeper," she says. "To the high blue mountains, where the clouds touch the ground, where the British cannot breathe." You turn your back on the fire. You start walking again, upward, into the cold mist of the peaks. You're tired, you're hungry, you're hunted, but you're free. And as you climb, you hear the abeng blowing in the distance, calling out to the mountains, telling them you're coming home. The journey into the Blue Mountains is a different kind of hell. The heat of the lowlands gives way to a damp, bone-chilling cold. You're climbing above the cloud line. The vegetation changes from tropical jungle to stunted, moss-covered trees that look like twisted old men, frozen in agony. The air is thin. Every breath is a struggle. Your chest aches. You're carrying a heavy pack, yams, salt, gunpowder, and your legs are screaming. The path is barely a goat track, winding along the edge of precipices that drop thousands of feet into white nothingness. One slip and you fall forever. It rains constantly. Not the heavy showers of the coast, but a persistent, soaking drizzle that seeps into your bones. You're always wet. Your skin is wrinkling, turning pale and soft. Trenchfoot is a risk here, even if they don't call it that yet. Nanny walks ahead. She seems immune to the cold. She knows the path. She stops occasionally to check the moss, to listen to the wind. She's reading the mountain. "We are close," she says on the third day. "The sanctuary." You crest a final ridge, and the clouds part for a moment. Below you lies a hidden valley, completely encircled by sheer cliffs. It is green, lush, protected from the wind. A river winds through it, sparkling silver. Smoke rises from a dozen fires. It is the main Maroon stronghold, a city in the sky. You descend. The reception is wary. Sentries emerge from the mist, their weapons levelled. They check your face, your hands, your eyes. They are looking for spies. They are looking for weakness. But when they see Nanny, they lower their guns. They bow their heads. She is a legend here, a spiritual leader, an Obeah woman. You are welcomed, but not with open arms, with tasks. You build, an elder says, handing you an axe. Shelter first, then defence. You spend the next week building a hut from cedar logs and thatch. It is sturdy, warm. You dig a fire pit. You learn to weave mats from river reeds. Life here is hard, but it has a rhythm. You wake up not to a conch shell, but to the sun. You work not for a master, but for the community. You hunt wild boar in the forests. You gather honey from wild bees. You farm the steep terraces, but you are always watching the pass. The British are relentless. They have maps now. They have guides, captured Maroons who broke under torture. One evening a runner arrives exhausted and bleeding. "They're coming," he gasps. Colonel Guthrie, with 500 men and the dogs. 500. It is an invasion force. The council meets. The debate is fierce. Some want to run again, deeper, but there is nowhere deeper to go. This is the last stronghold. "We fight," Nanny says, "but not like before. We don't ambush, we trap." The plan is the Nannytown trap. It relies on the geography of the valley. The entrance is a narrow gorge, the narrow path. "We let them in," Nanny says. "We let them think they have won. We let them see the town." "Let them see it?" you ask. "But they will burn it." "They will try," she says, "but they have to cross the river first." The river looks calm, but it is fed by mountain springs. The current is strong, and the banks are steep. You spend 3 days preparing. You dig pits. You sharpen bamboo stakes and hide them in the tall grass. You pile rocks. You create false paths that lead to cliffs, and you wait. On the 4th morning, the mist clears, and there they are. The British column snakes its way down the pass. They look confident. They see the town below, the smoke rising. They think they have caught you sleeping. They march toward the river. They don't see any sentries. They don't hear any horns. "Forward," Colonel Guthrie shouts. "Burn it all." They step into the water. It is waist deep. They hold their muskets high. "Now!" The signal is not a horn. It is a single shot. Nanny fires her musket. The valley walls come alive. Hundreds of Maroons rise from the grass, from behind rocks, from the trees. You fire. The British are trapped in the water. They can't run. They can't hide. They are sitting ducks. The water turns red. It is a slaughter, but it is also a message. "Surrender," Nanny's voice echoes across the water. "Or die." The colonel looks around. His men are falling. His retreat is cut off. He realizes he has walked into a kill box. He lowers his sword. "We surrender." It is historic. A British colonel surrendering to a group of escaped slaves. The Maroons emerge. They take the weapons. They take the supplies. But they do not kill the prisoners. "Go back," Nanny tells the colonel. "Tell your king that this land is ours. Tell him we will not be moved. Tell him if he wants peace, he must sign a treaty. A treaty. Recognition. Freedom." The colonel nods, pale and shaken. He leads his battered survivors back up the pass. You watch them go. You stand on the riverbank, your musket in your hand. You look at the water, cleansing itself of the blood. You are tired. Your body is scarred. Your memories are full of fire and iron. But you're standing on your own land. You're breathing your own air. You look at Nanny. She's watching the clouds. "It is not over," she says. "Paper is just paper. They will always want this land." "Then we will always be here," you say. You turn back to the town. There is work to do. The harvest is coming. The children need to be fed. The walls need to be strengthened. You are a Maroon. You are a survivor. And for the first time in your life, you are home. Hey guys, we are leaving the mountains of Jamaica behind now, though the echo of the Abang horn will stay with us. Tonight, we are travelling to a different kind of darkness. We are going to the deep American South, to the swamps of Louisiana and the pine forests of Georgia. We are going to talk about the Underground Railroad, but forget the maps you saw in school with neat little dotted lines. Forget the idea of a railroad with tracks and trains. This wasn't a system of transportation. It was a system of secrets. It was a code spoken in whispers, a map hidden in a song, and a survival guide written in the stars. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And let me know in the comments, have you ever been lost in the woods at night? That feeling of disorientation is just a fraction of what we're about to explore. Now, dim the lights. Let the shadows in the corner of your room stretch a little longer. And let's ease into tonight's journey. Congratulations. You've just woken up in the year 1850. You're in a cabin on a cotton plantation in Mississippi. It is midnight. The moon is hidden behind heavy clouds, which is good. Darkness is your only ally right now. You're leaving tonight. You have been planning this for months. You have listened to the older men talking by the fire, catching snippets of information. You have memorized the patterns of the overseer's rounds. You have hoarded food, dried corn, a piece of salt pork wrapped in a rag. You sit up on your pallet. Your heart is hammering against your ribs so hard you think it might wake the others. You look around the cabin. Your brother is asleep next to you. Your mother is breathing softly in the corner. You want to wake them. You want to say goodbye. Or better, come with me. But you can't. If you wake them, they might try to stop you. Or worse, they might try to come and they aren't ready. Your mother has a bad leg. Your brother is too young to keep quiet when the dogs come. If you take them, you all die. If you go alone, you might make it. And if you make it, maybe you can send for them. Maybe you can buy them out. It's a desperate hope. But it's all you have. You stand up. The floorboards creak. You freeze. You hold your breath for 10 seconds. No one moves. You grab your small bundle. You slip out the door. The night air is humid, thick with the smell of damp earth and pine needles. The silence is heavy. Every cricket chirp sounds like a scream. You move toward the tree line. You don't run. Running attracts attention. You walk with a purpose, staying in the shadows of the cabins. You pass the overseer's house. A light is burning in the window. He is awake. You drop to your stomach and crawl through the tall grass. The dew soaks your shirt. Mud slicks your hands. You reach the woods. You stand up and look back. The plantation looks peaceful from here. Just a cluster of dark shapes against the sky. But you know what happens when the sun comes up. You know the sound of the horn. You know the weight of the sack. You turn your back on it. You step into the trees. The first challenge is direction. Where do you go? Follow the North Star, they say. Follow the drinking gourd. But tonight there are no stars. The clouds are a solid grey blanket. You are blind. So you use the other signs. You feel the trees. Moss grows on the north side, the old folks said. You run your hands over the rough bark of an oak tree. You feel a patch of soft, damp moss. It's cooler than the rest of the tree. That's north. You start walking. The woods are dense. Briars tear at your clothes. Roots try to trip. You have to move slowly, feeling the ground with your feet before you put your weight down. A snapped twig sounds like a gunshot in the silence. You walk for hours. Your legs burn. Your fear is a cold knot in your stomach. You are listening for dogs. The patrollers, they ride the roads at night looking for runaways. If they catch you, you don't just go back. You go back broken. Suddenly you hear it. Not dogs. Water. You have reached the swamp. The swamp is a barrier, but it is also a highway. The dogs can't track you through water. If you can wade through it, you lose the scent. You step into the black water. It is cold. Mud squelches between your toes. It smells of decay, of rotting leaves and stagnant pools. You wade deeper. The water rises to your knees, then your waist. You feel things moving in the water. Fish. Snakes. You try not to think about the cottonmouths. You try not to think about the gators. You just keep moving north. You find a cypress tree rising out of the water like a giant skeleton. You lean against it to rest. You are shivering. You are wet, cold, and alone in a swamp in the middle of the night. But then you see something. A light. Not a star. A lantern. It is flickering in the distance on the edge of the swamp. It moves in a specific pattern. Left, right, left. Then it vanishes. Is it a patrol, or is it a station? You remember the code. A light in the window means safe harbour. A lantern on a pole means danger. This was a moving light. A signal. You have a choice. Stay in the swamp and freeze, or move toward the light and risk capture. You choose the light. You push off the tree. You wade toward the signal. As you get closer, you see a small cabin on a patch of dry land. It looks abandoned. The roof is sagging. The windows are dark. But then you hear a voice. Soft. Singing. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. It's a spiritual, but it's also a code. Steal away means escape is possible tonight. You step onto the bank. You're dripping wet. You're trembling. A figure steps out from the shadow of the cabin. A man, older, holding a lantern with the shutter almost closed, letting out only a sliver of light. He looks at you. He doesn't smile. He doesn't ask your name. He just nods. "Friend of a friend," he whispers. Friend of the friendless, you reply. It's the passcode you learned months ago, whispered behind the barn. He opens the door. Get in, quick. You step inside. It is warm. There is a fire burning low in the hearth. The smell of cornbread and coffee hits you and your stomach cramps with hunger. There are other people in the room. 3 of them, huddled in blankets. They look like you, exhausted, terrified, hopeful. You rest here tonight, the man says. Tomorrow the wagon comes. It has a false bottom. You will be cargo. Cargo. You're still property even here, but now you are precious cargo. You are being smuggled to freedom. You sit by the fire. You eat a piece of cornbread. It tastes like heaven. You look around the room. This is a station, one of thousands of secret safe houses dotting the map. This man is a conductor. He risks his life every night. If he is caught helping you, he loses everything. His land, his freedom, maybe his life. Why? You ask him quietly. Why do you do this? He looks at the fire. Because I was you once, he says, and someone left a light on for me. You sleep that night on a rug in front of the fire. It is the best sleep you have ever had. Not because it is comfortable, but because for the first time you aren't sleeping with one eye open. Someone else is watching the door, but the journey is just beginning. The swamp was the first step. The wagon is the second. Ahead of you lie hundreds of miles of road, river, and danger. You are on the railroad now, and the train is leaving the station. You wake up in the dark again, but this time it is different. You aren't in a hut or under a tree. You're in a box. Specifically, you are in a compartment built underneath the floorboards of a farm wagon. It is a false bottom, maybe 2 feet high. You're lying flat on your back, squeezed in next to 2 other runaways. The space is so tight you can't turn over. The wood above your face smells of sawdust and manure. The farmer has loaded the wagon with fertilizer to mask your scent from the dogs. The wagon lurches into motion. The vibration rattles your teeth. You hear the driver, the conductor from the cabin, shout to the horses, "Giddy up! You're moving!" But you are blind. You can only hear the world outside, the crunch of gravel under the wheels, the chirping of birds, the occasional voice of a passerby. It is terrifying. You are completely helpless. If the wagon stops, if someone decides to inspect the load, you're trapped. You can't run, you can't fight. You just have to lie there and pray the wood holds. Hours pass. The air in the compartment gets hot and stale. Dust drifts down through the cracks in the floorboards, choking you. You try to cough quietly, burying your face in your arm. The person next to you is trembling. You reach out and squeeze their hand. It's the only comfort you can offer. Suddenly the wagon slows. You hear the driver pull back on the reins. "Whoa there!" Voices harsh, demanding. "Where are you headed, old man?" "Market. Got a load of manure for the Widow Smith's garden." "Manure, huh?" "Smells like it." A laugh. "Seen any strays? We got 3 missing from the plantation down the road. Big reward." Your heart stops. You stop breathing. The person next to you squeezes your hand so hard it hurts. You hear footsteps crunching on the gravel. Someone is walking around the wagon. "Just manure in there? And some hay. You want to dig through it, be my guest. But don't blame me if you ruin your boots." A pause. The longest pause of your life. You imagine the soldier, or the pateroller, poking a bayonet into the pile. You imagine the steel piercing the wood, piercing you. "Nah. Go on. Get that stink out of here. Giddy up." The wagon jerks forward. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. The wheels pick up speed. You're safe. For now. But the psychological toll of hiding is immense. You're essentially buried alive for 12 hours a day. You can't see where you're going. You have no control. You have to trust a stranger with your life. By late afternoon, the wagon stops again. This time the driver taps a specific rhythm on the floorboards. Tap, 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 tap. The all clear. The false bottom opens. Fresh air rushes in. It smells of hay and dust, but it is sweet. You crawl out, your limbs stiff and aching. You are in a barn. A different barn. "Next station," the driver says. He looks exhausted. "Eat, sleep. Tomorrow you walk." You're handed off like a parcel. The next conductor is a woman, a Quaker. She wears a plain grey dress and looks stern, but she gives you a bowl of hot stew and a clean blanket. "The river is next," she says. "The Ohio. It's wide, and the patrols are heavy. The Ohio River, the Jordan, the boundary between slavery and freedom. If you cross it, you're in the north. But the North isn't safe yet. The fugitive slave law means bounty hunters can snatch you anywhere. You have to get to Canada. How do we cross, you ask? Ice, she says. It's winter, the river is frozen. Frozen. That means walking across a sheet of ice in the open, exposed to anyone on the banks. Wait for the moon to set, she advises, and walk softly. You rest for a day in the hayloft. You listen to the farm animals below, cows chewing, horses stamping. It reminds you of the plantation, but the feeling is different. Here, the animals are just animals. You aren't one of them. The next night, you set out again. You're walking now. The Quaker woman gives you new shoes, sturdy boots that actually fit. They feel strange on your feet, heavy but protective. You reach the riverbank. The Ohio is massive, a wide grey expanse of ice stretching into the darkness. It looks solid, but you can hear it groaning. The current underneath is strong. If the ice breaks, you're gone. You step out. The ice is slick. The wind cuts through your coat. You're exposed. There is no cover here, just you and the river. You walk. Every step is a test. Crack. The ice shifts under your weight. You freeze. You wait. It holds. You take another step. Halfway across, you hear a whistle. Not a bird, a human whistle, a signal, or a warning. You drop to the ice. You lie flat, trying to blend into the grey surface. You see a lantern on the far bank. Someone is patrolling. You wait. The cold from the ice seeps through your clothes. Your fingers go numb. The lantern moves on. You scramble up. You run. Not a sprint, but a fast sliding shuffle. You reach the other side. You grab the roots of a tree and pull yourself up the bank. You are in Ohio. You are free. But you don't feel free. You feel cold. You feel hungry. And you feel hunted. Because you know the bounty hunters don't stop at the river. They have horses, they have guns, and they have the law on their side. You find the next marker, a quilt hanging on a clothesline. It has a specific pattern, the drunkard's path. It means zigzag. Don't go straight. You follow the code. You move into the woods. You're a ghost in your own country. But as you walk, you see something in the sky. The clouds have broken, and there it is, the North Star, bright, steady, unmoving. It hangs there like a promise. You fix your eyes on it. You keep walking. You're tired. You're scared. But you're not lost. Not anymore. You're a traveller on the Underground Railroad, and the tracks only go one way. The next leg of your journey takes you through a landscape that feels entirely alien. You have left the cotton fields and the swamps behind. Now you are moving through the industrialising north. You see factories with smoking chimneys, towns with paved streets, and people moving with a different kind of urgency. But the danger hasn't decreased. It has evolved. In the south, the enemy was the overseer and the bloodhound. Here, the enemy is the informer. The Fugitive Slave Act has turned ordinary citizens into deputised slave catchers. A shopkeeper, a stable hand, even a fellow traveller could be looking to make a quick bounty. You can trust no one. You're hiding in the attic of a tailor shop in a small town in Ohio. The tailor, Mr. Douglas, no relation, he jokes grimly, is a free black man. His shop is a hub of activity, which makes it a perfect cover. No one suspects the noise upstairs is anything but storage. But safe is a relative term. You cannot leave the attic. You cannot stand near the window. You cannot make a sound during business hours. You spend 12 hours a day sitting in the semi-darkness, surrounded by bolts of wool and linen, listening to the bell on the shop door ding every time a customer enters. "Did you hear?" a customer says one afternoon. His voice drifts up through the floorboards. "They caught 3 of them in Cincinnati yesterday. Dragged them right out of a church." You freeze. Cincinnati's only 50 miles away. "Shame," another voice says, "but the law is the law." The law, it is a weapon here. Mr. Douglas brings you food after the shop closes. Cold cuts, cheese, hardtack. He brings news, too. "The river is watched," he says. "The bridges are watched. You have to take the train." "The train?" You stare at him. "I can't buy a ticket. They'll see me." "Not a passenger train," he says. "A freight train. The midnight special." It sounds like a ghost story, but it is real. It is a network of sympathetic railroad workers, brakemen, porters, engineers, who smuggle runaways in boxcars. You go to the depot at 2 a.m, Douglas instructs. Look for a car marked with a white chalk cross on the rim. "Door. That's the one. Don't hesitate. Jump in." That night, you leave the attic. You move through the sleeping town. The gas lamps cast long, eerie shadows. You feel exposed, vulnerable. Every alley looks like a trap. You reach the depot. It is a maze of iron tracks and looming steam engines. The smell of coal smoke and grease is overpowering. The trains hiss and clank like sleeping beasts breathing. You find the car. It is a cattle car, smelling of manure and old hay. There is a small white cross scrawled near the latch. You slide the heavy door open just enough to squeeze through. Inside, it is pitch black. You stumble over something soft. "Easy now," a voice whispers. There are others here. 5, maybe 6 people. You can't see their faces, but you can feel their tension. The train lurches. The whistle blows, a lonely, mournful sound that echoes into the night. The car jerks forward. You're moving faster than you have ever moved in your life. The sensation of speed is terrifying and exhilarating. You are hurtling through the darkness, away from the south, away from the dogs, away from the chains. But the boxcar is its own kind of prison. It is freezing. The wind whistles through the slats. You have no idea where you're going or when you will stop. You are cargo again. Hours pass. The rhythmic clack, clack, clack of the wheels becomes a hypnotic lullaby. You drift into a fitful sleep. You wake to a sudden screech of brakes. The train is stopping. Is it a station, a checkpoint? "Quiet," someone hisses. The door slides open. A lantern shines in. You flinch, expecting a gun. "End of the line, folks," a voice says. It is a friendly voice. A porter in a uniform. "Cleveland, the lake is waiting." You scramble out. The air is biting cold. You're in a massive rail yard surrounded by snow. Real snow. Thick white drifts that cover everything. "Lake Erie," the porter points. "That way. The boats go to Canada." Canada, the promised land. You walk toward the water. The lake is huge, an endless grey expanse that merges with the sky. It looks like the ocean. But there is a problem. The harbour is frozen. The ships are icebound. No boats until the thaw, a fisherman tells you. Maybe March. It is January. You're stuck. You're so close to freedom you can see it on the map, but you can't reach it. And Cleveland is crawling with bounty hunters. They know the port is a bottleneck. They watch the boarding houses. They watch the docks. You have to go underground again. Deep underground. You're taken to a church basement. The station master here is a white minister. He hides you in a crypt behind the furnace. It is warm, but it is suffocating. You wait. Days turn into weeks. You listen to the sermons upstairs. You hear them singing hymns about freedom, about crossing the River Jordan. You wonder if they know you are down here, living the metaphor. One day, the minister comes down. He looks grim. They're searching the block, he says. They have a warrant. They're going door to door. What do? We move, he says. Now, in broad daylight. How? A funeral, he says. It is a bold, insane plan. You are dressed in mourning clothes. A heavy black veil covers your face. You're placed in a carriage behind a hearse. You ride through the streets of Cleveland. You see the marshals on the corner questioning people. They see a funeral procession. They take off their hats out of respect. They let you pass. You hold your breath. You're hiding in plain sight, protected by the rituals of death. The procession reaches the cemetery at the edge of town, but the carriage doesn't stop. It keeps going, past the gates, down a country road. "Keep going," the driver says. "To the ice." "The ice?" "The lake is frozen solid," he says. "You can't take a boat, but you can walk." Walk to Canada, across a frozen Great Lake. It sounds like suicide. The ice shifts. There are pressure ridges, open water leads, blizzards. "It's 20 miles, the driver says. "If the weather holds, you make it in a day. If it doesn't..." He doesn't finish. You get out of the carriage at the shoreline. The ice stretches out to the horizon, a white desolate plain. The wind is howling. You look back at the shore. You look at the ice. "Better to freeze free than burn in chains," you whisper. You step onto the ice. It is slippery, uneven. The wind tries to push you back. You start walking, north, toward the invisible line where the laws of men change. You are walking on water, you're walking into the unknown, and for the first time, you aren't running away from something, you're walking toward something. The ice on Lake Erie is a landscape of deception. From the shore, it looked like a flat white sheet. But out here, miles from land, it is a chaotic terrain of jagged ridges, snowdrifts, and terrifying fissures. The wind has sculpted the snow into waves that mimic the water below. You're walking into a void. The sky is grey. The ice is grey. The horizon is a blur where the two meet. There is no sense of distance, no sense of scale. You're a tiny speck moving through a white infinity. The cold is absolute. It finds every gap in your clothing. It freezes your breath on your face, turning your scarf into a stiff mask of ice. Your boots crunch on the crusty snow, a loud, rhythmic sound that seems to echo for miles. You are not alone. There are 5 of you now, the group from the funeral carriage. You walk single file, tied together with a long rope. It's a safety measure. If one person falls through a weak spot, the others can pull them out or go down with them. "Keep moving," the man in front shouts over the wind. "Don't stop. Stopping is freezing." You check the compass the minister gave you. North. Always north. About 2 hours in, the weather turns. The wind picks up, whipping the loose snow into a whiteout. Visibility drops to 0. You can't see the person in front of you, only the rope tugging at your waist. You are walking blind. You stumble over a ridge of ice. You fall. The cold bites through your gloves instantly. You scramble up. You can't lose the line. Then you hear it. A deep, booming crack, like thunder, but it comes from below your feet. The ice is shifting. "Freeze!" Everyone stops. The sound echoes again. "Boom!" A vibration travels up your legs. "Pressure ridge!" the leader yells. "The plates are colliding. We have to go around." You veer east. The ice here is rougher, piled up in chaotic blocks. You have to climb over them. It is exhausting work. Your legs feel heavy, leaden. You look down. Through a patch of clear black ice you see the water. Dark, deep, moving. It is terrifyingly close. Just inches of frozen water separate you from the abyss. Night falls. You're still on the lake. You can't stop to camp. You have to keep moving. You start to hallucinate. You see lights in the distance. Are they stars? Or are they the lights of Canada? Or just phantoms of your exhausted mind? "I see it," someone shouts. "Land." You squint. A dark shape on the horizon. A tree line. You push forward. The adrenaline spikes. You run, stumbling, sliding. But as you get closer, the shape changes. It isn't land, it's a ship. An icebound schooner trapped in the flow. It sits tilted at a crazy angle, its masts coated in ice like a ghost ship. Is it safe? Doesn't matter, it's shelter. You approach the ship. You climb the frozen hull using a rope ladder that hangs down. You scramble onto the deck. It is abandoned. The crew must have walked off when it got stuck. But the cabin doors are open. You crowd inside. It is out of the wind. It feels like a palace. You huddle together, sharing body heat. You eat the last of the hardtack. You sleep for a few hours, huddled in the captain's quarters. You dream of fire. When you wake, the storm has passed. The sun is shining dazzlingly bright on the white expanse. You climb back onto the deck, and there it is, real land. Maybe 5 miles away. You can see smoke rising from chimneys. You can see a lighthouse. Canada. Let's go, you say. The last 5 miles are the hardest. The ice near the shore is treacherous, broken up by the waves. You have to jump from floe to floe, but you make it. You step onto the snowy beach. You fall to your knees. You kiss the ground. It is cold, wet sand, but it is free soil. A man is walking his dog on the beach. He sees you. He stops. He doesn't run for the sheriff. He waves. "Welcome," he shouts. "You made it. You made it." But the story doesn't end here. Freedom isn't just crossing a line. It's building a life. You settle in a community called Buxton. It is a town built by runaways. You build a house. You plant crops. You learn to read. But you never forget the cold. You never forget the sound of the ice cracking. And years later, when the Civil War starts, you don't stay in Canada. You go back. Because freedom isn't enough if you leave your family behind. You join a regiment. The 54th Massachusetts? Maybe. Or a coloured troop from Ohio. You put on a blue uniform. You pick up a rifle. You march south. Back toward the heat. Back toward the cotton. Back toward the mill. But this time, you aren't running. You are marching. And you aren't alone. Hey guys, we are jumping forward in time now. We are leaving the ice of Lake Erie and heading to the scorched plains of the American West. But this isn't the Wild West you've seen in the movies. We aren't talking about John Wayne. We're talking about the men who built the forts, protected the wagon trains, and fought in conditions that would make a cactus wither. We're going to meet the Buffalo Soldiers. So before you settle in, make sure you've subscribed. We're diving deep into history tonight, and tell me in the comments, what's the coldest or hottest temperature you've ever survived? Let's compare notes. Now dim the lights. Let the sound of the wind outside become the wind on the prairie, and let's travel to 1875. Congratulations, you've just woken up in Fort Concho, Texas. It is July. The temperature is already 95 degrees at 8 a.m. By noon, it will be 110. You're a private in the 10th Cavalry Regiment. You're a Buffalo Soldier. You wear a heavy wool uniform, blue coat, light blue trousers, that was designed for European winters, not the Chihuahuan desert. The wool itches. It traps sweat against your skin until you feel like you're boiling in your own juices. You sit up on your bunk in the barracks. The room smells of old leather, gun oil, and 50 men living in close quarters. Dust hangs in the air, illuminated by shafts of harsh sunlight cutting through the windows. The dust is everywhere. It's in your clothes, in your food, in your teeth. You grind it between your molars when you eat. You pull on your boots. They are government-issued Jefferson booties. They are sturdy, but they have no arch support. After a 20-mile patrol, your feet feel like they have been beaten with hammers. You check them for scorpions first. Always check for scorpions. Réveil, the bugle calls. You line up on the parade ground. The sergeant is a grizzled veteran of the Civil War. He inspects your buttons, your belt buckle, your carbine. Everything must be perfect. You are black soldiers in a white man's army. You have to be twice as good to get half the respect. Patrol today, the sergeant barks. Staked plains, 3 days, fill your canteens. The Staked Plains, Llano Estacado, a vast waterless plateau that eats men alive. There are no landmarks, no trees, just endless grass and sky. If you get lost, you die of thirst. If the Comanches find you, you die fighting. You mount your horse. The saddle is hot to the touch. Your horse, a tough Mustang mix, snorts and stamps. He knows what's coming. You ride out of the fort gates. The heat hits you like a physical blow. The horizon shimmers. The patrol is grueling. You ride in a column of twos. The dust kicked up by the horses coats your face in a grey mask. You wrap a bandana around your nose and mouth, but the dust gets through. You cough, hacking up grit. Water discipline is strict. You take a sip only when the sergeant allows it. The water in your canteen is hot, metallic tasting. It doesn't quench your thirst. It just keeps your tongue from swelling. By afternoon, the sun is a white hole in the sky. You start to see things, mirages, lakes of blue water that vanish when you get close. Apache sign, the scout whispers. The scout is a Tonkawa Indian. He rides ahead, reading the ground like a book. He points to a patch of disturbed grass, a broken twig, a hoof print. You unholster your carbine. It's a Springfield Model 1873, a single-shot breech loader. It's reliable, but slow. If you miss your first shot, you might not get a second. The tension spikes. The boredom of the ride vanishes, replaced by a cold knot of fear in your gut. You scan the horizon. Is that a rock? Or a warrior lying prone? You ride into a box canyon. The walls rise up on 3 sides, red rock baking in the sun. Ambush! A shot rings out. Then another. Puffs of smoke bloom from the rocks above. Dismount. Form a skirmish line. You jump off your horse. You hand the reins to the horse holder. 1 man in every 4 holds the horses while the others fight. You run for cover behind a boulder. Bullets smack into the dirt around you. You aim your carbine. You fire. Boom! The recoil slams into your shoulder. You flip the breech open. Eject the spent shell, load a fresh one. Click. Clack. It is a firefight. Chaotic, loud, dusty. You can't see the enemy clearly. You're firing at smoke. Then, silence. The Apaches have withdrawn. They don't fight pitched battles if they can avoid it. They hit and run. They test your strength. Mount up, the sergeant yells. They're leading us into a trap. We pull back. You ride back the way you came. You're alive, but you're thirsty, and you still have 2 days of patrol left. That night you camp on the open plain. No fires. Too dangerous. You eat hardtack, a cracker so hard you have to soak it in coffee to chew it, and tinned beef. You lie on the ground, wrapped in your blanket. The temperature drops 40 degrees. You're shivering now. The desert is a land of extremes. You look up at the stars. They are incredible. Millions of them, bright and cold. You think about why you are here. $13 a month, a pension if you survive 20 years, a chance to prove you are a man, a citizen. But out here, Under the stars, none of that matters. What matters is the water in your canteen, the cartridge in your belt, and the man sleeping next to you. You drift off. You dream of water, cool, clear water. Morning on the staked plains doesn't break. It bleaches. The sky turns from black to a bruised purple, then instantly into a blinding white glare. You wake up stiff. The ground sucked the heat out of your body all night, but within 30 minutes you'll be sweating again. Saddle up, the sergeant whispers. No bugles out here. Sound carries for miles. Your horse is groggy. You check his hooves. A stone in the frog can lame a horse in an hour, and a man without a horse in this desert is a dead man. You run your hand down his leg. It's solid. You tighten the cinch. The leather creaks, dry and brittle. You take a sip from your canteen. It's half empty. You have to make it last until you find a waterhole. And out here, waterholes are often dry or poisoned. The Comanches sometimes throw dead animals into the springs to slow down pursuers. You pray the scout knows a clean one. The column moves out. Today the mission changes. You aren't just patrolling, you're tracking. The scout found a trail, a raiding party moving cattle north. Your job is to intercept them before they reach the canyon lands where they can disappear forever. Tracking is slow, tedious work. You stare at the ground until your eyes water. You look for sign, a scuff on a rock, a blade of grass bent the wrong way. Droppings. The dust is relentless. It gets into your nose, drying out the membranes until they bleed. You wipe your nose on your sleeve and it comes away red and gritty. By noon, the heat is hallucinatory. The air shimmers above the ground, creating heat devils, dust whirlwinds that dance across the plain. You feel dizzy. Your tongue swells. You start to obsess about ice. You remember the ice houses back east, the blocks of clear, cold water soared from frozen lakes. You would kill for a single chip of ice. Then the scout halts. He signals, dust. You squint. Miles ahead, a faint brown smudge against the blue sky. Cattle. A lot of them. Trot, the lieutenant orders. The pace picks up. The horses sense the urgency. The jolting trot rattles your teeth. Your equipment, canteen, carbine, saber, bangs against your side. The dust cloud gets closer. You can hear the lowing of the cattle now. Gallop! You spur your horse. The column spreads out into a line. You pull your carbine. The raiders see you. They abandon the slow-moving cattle and scatter. They are on fast ponies, lighter than your cavalry mounts. They split up, riding in 3 different directions. Platoon A, pursue left. Platoon B, pursue right. C, secure the herd. You are in Platoon A. You chase the riders heading toward a ridge. Your horse is heavy, tired, but he has stamina. You gain ground. The raiders turn in the saddle and fire. Crack, crack. A trooper near you grunts and slumps over the neck of his horse. He doesn't fall, but he loses his reins. You return fire. It is hard to aim from a galloping horse. You just point and shoot, hoping to suppress them. They reach the ridge and disappear over the crest. You follow, but as you crest the ridge, you rein in hard. It's a trap. Beyond the ridge is a ravine, and waiting in the ravine are 20 more warriors. They were the bait. Now the trap is sprung. Retreat. Fall back. You spin your horse. Bullets buzz past your head like angry hornets. One clips your hat, knocking it off. You don't stop to get it. You ride low, hugging the horse's neck. You can hear the war cries behind you. It is a terrifying, high-pitched yipping sound. You make it back to the main group. The lieutenant has formed a defensive square around the cattle herd. Dismount. Dig in. You hit the ground. You use your knife to dig a shallow depression in the hard earth. You pile your saddlebags in front of you as a breastwork. The warriors circle. They ride fast, hanging off the sides of their horses so you can't see them, shooting from under the horses' necks. It is an incredible display of horsemanship. You fire steadily. You have to conserve ammunition. You have 40 rounds in your belt. When those are gone, you have your revolver, 6 shots, then your saber, then your fists. The sun beats down. There is no shade. The metal of your gun barrel burns your hand. This is a siege. They aren't going to charge. They are going to pin you down and let the thirst kill you. Hours pass. Your throat is parchment. You start to feel the symptoms of heat stroke. Nausea, confusion. Your skin stops sweating. That's the danger sign. When you stop sweating, your body is cooking itself. Water, the man next to you croaks. I need water. Save it, you rasp, until dark. Night falls slowly. The shooting stops. The warriors are still out there waiting. The lieutenant crawls over. "We need a runner," he whispers. "To get to the waterhole at Painted Rock, fill the canteens, bring them back." It is a suicide mission. Painted Rock is 2 miles away through enemy lines. "I'll go," you say. You don't know why you say it. Maybe you're delirious. Maybe you just want water so bad you don't care about the risk. You take 6 canteens. You leave your carbine, too heavy, too loud. You take only your revolver and a knife. You crawl out into the darkness. You move like a snake, belly to the ground. Every snap of a twig sounds like a cannon shot. You pass within 20 feet of a warrior standing watch. You can smell the wood smoke on his clothes. You hold your breath until your lungs burn. You make it past the line. You stand up and run, a crouching jog. You reach Painted Rock. It is a depression in the stone, filled with muddy, stagnant water. It looks like the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. You drink first. You scoop the water with your hand. It tastes of mud and algae. It is ambrosia. You fill the canteens. They are heavy now. You strap them across your chest. The straps dig in. You head back. The return trip is harder. You're tired. The water sloshes. Slosh. Slosh. You get close to the perimeter. You hear a sound. A click. A warrior steps out from behind a mesquite bush. He has a knife. You don't think. You react. You tackle him. You roll in the dust. He's strong, wiry. He smells of sage and sweat. You get your hand on your revolver. You fire. Bang. The shot is deafening in the quiet night. The warrior falls back, but now the whole camp is awake. Run! You scramble toward your lines. Friendly coming in, you scream. Your platoon fires a volley over your head to cover you. You dive over the saddlebags, landing in the dirt. You unstrap the canteens. Hands reach out, grabbing them. Men drink, sobbing with relief. You made it, the sergeant says. He claps you on the shoulder. You lie on your back, staring at the stars. You are alive. You have water. But the sun will come up in 4 hours, and the enemy is still there. The siege breaks at dawn, not with a battle, but with a disappearance. When the sun bleaches the sky white, the ridge is empty. The warriors have slipped away in the night, taking their dead with them. They know the cavalry reinforcements are 2 days behind, and they don't fight losing battles. You mount up. Your body feels like it's made of lead. The ride back to the fort is a blur of dust and pain. When you finally ride through the gates of Fort Concho, you don't feel like a hero. You just feel tired. You dismount. You hand your horse to the stable boy. You walk to the barracks and collapse on your bunk. You sleep for 14 hours straight. When you wake up, it's a different world. The adrenaline is gone, leaving a dull ache in your joints. But now you have a different kind of fight on your hands. You have to deal with the army bureaucracy. You line up for pay call. It's been 3 months since you saw $1. The paymaster sits behind a table, counting out gold coins and greenbacks. "Private Johnson," he calls. You step forward. He counts out $39. $13 a month. It's less than a white private makes in some units, though officially the pay is the same. The difference comes in the deductions. Laundry fee, equipment repair, lost canteen. You stare at the pile. It's small, but it's yours. You take the money and head to the sutler's store. The sutler is a civilian merchant who has a monopoly on selling goods on the post. His price is a robbery. A can of peaches cost 50 cents. A plug of tobacco, 25. You buy a can of peaches, a bar of soap and some writing paper. You sit on a barrel outside and eat the peaches with your knife. The syrup is sweet and sticky. It's the first luxury you've had in weeks. Then you write a letter. You write to your mother in Tennessee. You tell her you are safe. You tell her the army is hard, but it's better than sharecropping. You tell her you are saving money to buy land. You don't tell her about the thirst. You don't tell her about the ambush. You don't tell her that when you walk into town in San Angelo, the saloon keeper won't serve you because of the colour of your skin, even though you are wearing the uniform of the United States Army. You seal the letter. You hope it gets there. Mail service is spotty. The next few weeks are a routine of drill and fatigue duty. You build roads. You repair the fort walls. You string telegraph wire. The Buffalo Soldiers aren't just fighters. They are the labour force of the frontier. You are building the civilization that often rejects you. One day, a new officer arrives. A white lieutenant fresh from West Point. He looks at your regiment with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. He has never commanded black troops before. He expects you to be lazy. He expects you to be undisciplined. You have to teach him. Not with words, that would be insubordination, but with perfection. Your uniform is spotless. Your horse is groomed until it shines. Your drill is crisp, right face. Forward march. Slowly you see the change. You see the respect grow in his eyes. He realizes that these men, these former slaves and sons of slaves, are the best soldiers he has ever seen. They don't complain. They don't desert. They just do the job. But the frontier is changing. The railroad is coming. You're sent to guard a survey crew for the Texas and Pacific Railway. These men are mapping the route for the Iron Horse. They are rough, loud men who drink whiskey for breakfast. You ride alongside their wagons. You watch the horizon. One afternoon you find something on the tracks, a herd of buffalo. Not a few animals. A massive moving sea of dark brown fur. It stretches from horizon to horizon. The sound is like a continuous earthquake. Rumble, rumble. The survey crew stops. They pull out their heavy sharps rifles. They start shooting. It isn't hunting, it's slaughter. They don't even aim. They just fire into the mass. Buffalo fall. The herd panics, stampeding. You watch in silence. You have been called buffalo soldiers by the tribes because of your hair and your fighting spirit. The buffalo is a sacred animal to the Plains tribes. It is their food, their shelter, their soul. And you're watching it be wiped out. The survey crew takes only the tongues and the hides. They leave the carcasses to rot in the sun. Miles of rotting meat. The smell is horrific. You realize then that you're part of something bigger than just a patrol. You're the edge of a knife that is cutting the heart out of the West. You're clearing the way for a world of steam and steel, a world that has no place for the buffalo, or the tribes, or maybe even for you. But you are a soldier. You follow orders. Move out, the sergeant says. You ride past the carcasses. The flies are thick. You pull your bandana up. The railroad is built. The towns spring up. And one day, you ride into a town you helped protect, and you see a sign in a window. No coloured allowed. You sit on your horse looking at the sign. You touch the sabre at your side. You touch the medal on your chest. You turn your horse and ride back to the fort. The only place where you belong. Part 2235. Hey guys, we are shifting gears again. We are leaving the dust of Texas and heading east, way east, to a place where stone reaches the sky without a single drop of mortar to hold it together. We're going to the heart of southern Africa in the 13th century. We're going to Great Zimbabwe. You might think you know about ancient cities, pyramids, colosseums. But this place is different. It wasn't built by slaves. It wasn't built by aliens. It was built by cattle, gold, and the absolute genius of the Shona people. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments. If you had to build a house with no cement, what would you use? Dim the lights. Let the silence of the savannah surround you. And let's wake up in the year 1250. Congratulations. You have just woken up on a granite hill overlooking a valley of mist. The air is cool, crisp, and smells of wood smoke and cattle. You're a stone mason in the kingdom of Zimbabwe. You stand up from your sleeping mat. You're inside a circular hut made of daga, a mixture of clay and gravel that dries hard as concrete. The roof is thatched with grass so thick it keeps the interior cool even when the sun is blazing. You step outside. Below you the city spreads out, and it is breathtaking. Massive walls of grey granite snake across the valley floor. They curve and loop, mimicking the shape of the boulders around them. Some walls are 30 feet high and 16 feet thick at the base. And here is the miracle. There is no mortar, no cement, no mud, just stone on stone. Your job today is to build. You walk down the hill to the quarry. It isn't a hole in the ground. It is the granite outcrops themselves. The rock here naturally exfoliates. It peels off in layers like an onion when it gets hot and cold. You use fire to heat the rock, then splash it with cold water. Crack. A perfect slab splits off. It sounds like a gunshot. You and 3 other men lift the slab. It is heavy, dense. You carry it to the work site, the great enclosure. This is the palace of the king. The walls here are decorated with chevron patterns built into the stone itself. You have to shape each block. You use a dolerite hammer, a stone harder than granite, to chip away the edges. Clink, clink, clink. It is precision work. The blocks have to fit together perfectly. If there is a gap, the wall will collapse. You are building a puzzle that weighs 1,000,000 tons. You stack the block. You check the level with your eye. It has to lean inward slightly, battering the wall so it supports its own weight. The sun climbs higher. It gets hot. You sweat, but the stone is cool under your hands. You look up at the conical tower. It is a solid stone silo 30 feet high, inside the walls. It has no doors, no windows. It is a mystery. Some say it is a symbol of the king's power. Some say it is a grain bin for the spirits. Around noon, you stop for food. You eat sadza, a thick porridge made from sorghum or millet, and beef stew. The king's cattle herds are vast. Beef is the fuel of this city. You sit in the shade of the wall you're building. You watch the traders arriving from the coast. They are Swahili merchants from Kilwa. They bring cloth from India, porcelain from China, glass beads from Persia. They want one thing: gold. You aren't a miner, but you know where the gold comes from. It comes from the rivers and the shafts dug deep into the quartz reefs. It is dust and nuggets, melted down and traded for the world's luxuries. You see a porter carrying a tusk of ivory. It is huge, curved, and yellow-white. It is destined for a workshop in India. Great Zimbabwe is the hub of a wheel that spans the Indian Ocean. You're connected to places you will never see. But there is a tension here. The city is growing too big. The trees are gone, cut down for firewood and construction. The cattle have overgrazed the grass. The soil is getting thin. You can feel it. The strain on the land. In the afternoon, a storm rolls in. Thunder crashes, echoing off the stone walls. Rain turns the red dust to mud. You keep working. Wet stone is slippery. You have to be careful. A dropped block will crush a foot. The king walks by. He's surrounded by drummers and advisors. He doesn't look at you. He's looking at the wall. He wants it higher, always higher. Night falls. The city glows with thousands of cooking fires. You can hear the mbira, the thumb piano, playing a repetitive hypnotic tune. It is the sound of the ancestors. You go back to your hut. You're tired. Your hands are calloused and grey with stone dust. You lie down. You think about the wall. It will stand for 100 years, maybe 500, maybe 1,000. You don't know that one day people will come from across the sea and say you didn't build it. They will say it must have been the Queen of Sheba or the Phoenicians or anyone but Africans. But you know the truth. You feel the weight of the stone in your muscles. You know the heat of the fire that split the rock. You built this, stone by stone, with no mortar but sweat. Morning in the city of stone comes with a heavy, low-hanging fog. It clings to the granite walls of the great enclosure, turning the massive grey blocks dark with moisture. You wake up not to the sound of birds, but to the lowing of cattle. Thousands of them. Great Zimbabwe isn't just a palace. It is a cattle camp on a monumental scale. The smell of the herds is the perfume of the city. It is thick, earthy, and omnipresent. To you, it smells like wealth. In this kingdom, a cow is not just food. It is currency, status, and political power, walking on 4 legs. You step out of your hut. The mud under your feet is cold. You head down from the quarry toward the market areas in the valley. Today, you aren't cutting stone. You have been tasked with moving goods. The city is crowded. Historians will later estimate that nearly 20,000 people live here at its peak. It is one of the largest cities in the world at this time, and you can feel it. The spaces between the huts are narrow. Smoke from thousands of cooking fires stings your eyes. It hangs in the valley, trapping the smells of roasting meat and human proximity. You walk past the craftsman. There is a man working with iron. He has a small furnace made of clay, pumped by goatskin bellows. Huff, puff, huff, puff. The rhythm is hypnotic. He is smelting iron hose and spearheads. The heat radiating from his forge is intense. Even in the cool morning, iron is the backbone of agriculture here, almost as important as the gold. You reach the trading post. It is a chaotic, noisy space near the edge of the city. The Swahili merchants are here. They wear long white robes and turbans, a stark contrast to the leather and cotton worn by the Shona. They speak a language you don't understand, a mix of Arabic and Bantu tongues, but trade has its own language. Your job is to carry the ivory. You lift a tusk onto your shoulder. It is heavier than the stone blocks, curved and awkward. You carry it to the weighing station. Here you see the gold. It isn't in bars or coins, it is dust. Fine, glittering dust stored in the hollow quills of porcupines. It is a brilliant natural packaging. A merchant unplugs a quill and pours a tiny stream of gold onto a brass scale. The balance tips. He nods. In exchange, he hands over a string of glass beads. They are blue, turquoise, and deep red. made in India and Indonesia. These beads are small, but they travel thousands of miles to get here. They will be sewn into the king's robes or traded for more cattle. You watch the transaction. It is quiet, serious. No one cheats. The king's tax collectors are watching. They take their cut of every trade, a portion of the cloth, a portion of the beads. This is how the walls get built. The gold pays for the stone. But as you walk back up the hill, you notice something worrying. You look at the women carrying firewood. They are walking slowly, bent double under the weight of the bundles on their heads. You recognize them. They left before dawn. They have been gone for 6 hours. The trees are gone. For miles around the city, the hills are bare. The mopan trees, the acacia, the hardwoods needed for charcoal and construction. They have all been cut down. The city is hungry. It eats wood to smelt the gold. It eats wood to cook the beef. It eats wood to keep the nights warm. You can see the erosion starting. When the rain comes now, the water runs off the bare hills too fast. It washes away the topsoil. The crops in the valley are getting thinner. The cattle have to be driven further and further away to find grazing grass. The city is a machine that is consuming its own engine. You reach the top of the hill complex. This is the spiritual heart of the kingdom. It is a maze of natural boulders and built walls, fused together so tightly you can't tell where nature ends and human hands begin. You stand by a soapstone bird carved on a pedestal. It looks out over the valley. The fog has lifted. The sun is baking the granite. It feels permanent. The stone feels eternal. But you know, with the instinct of someone who lives off the land, that the water is drying up. The wood is vanishing. A city of stone needs more than rocks to survive. You go back to your hut as the sun sets. You eat your porridge. You listen to the mbira music drifting up from the valley. It is a beautiful, repetitive plinking sound, calming the mind. You sleep. You dream of a forest that used to be here. Years pass. The trade routes shift. The resources dwindle. The city doesn't fall in a war. It isn't burned down. It just exhales. People start to leave, family by family. They move north to the Mutapa state or west to Torwa. They follow the water. They follow the wood. The stone walls remain. The granite doesn't rot. The chevron patterns stay crisp. Eventually the valley is quiet. The cattle are gone. The smoke clears. The grass grows back, covering the hut floors, and the great Zimbabwe becomes a ghost city of stone, waiting for the world to rediscover it. The wind shifts. The smell of cattle and wood smoke fades, replaced by the sharp metallic scent of coal dust and the roar of a city that never sleeps. We are leaving the quiet decay of Great Zimbabwe and jumping forward in time across the ocean to a place where the lights are brighter, the music is louder, and the stakes are just as high. We are going to Harlem. The year is 1925, but this isn't the Harlem of the Cotton Club stage, with its polished floors and white patrons. This is the Harlem of the rent party, the Harlem of the Cold Water flat, the Harlem where survival means hustling every single day just to keep a roof over your head. Congratulations! You've just woken up in a tenement apartment on 135th Street. It is 5 a.m. in February. The radiator is clanking, but it isn't producing heat. It's just making noise. The window pane is frosted on the inside. You're a recent arrival from the south. You came up during the Great Migration, leaving behind the sharecropping fields of Georgia for the promise of the north. You traded the open sky for a brick wall and the quiet of the country for the constant grinding noise of the city. The first thing you notice is the cold. It is a different kind of cold than the plantation. It is damp and seeped into the plaster walls. You're sharing a 2-room apartment with 3 other families. People are sleeping everywhere. On the floor, on chairs, in the bathtub. Privacy is a luxury you cannot afford. You step over a sleeping body to get to the sink. The water is brown when you turn the tap. The pipes are old. You let it run until it clears, splashing your face. It smells of iron. You have to get to work. You're a dock worker on the Hudson River piers. It is brutal, physical labour, lifting crates, of cargo in the freezing wind. If you're late, you don't work. If you're slow, you don't work. There are 100 men waiting at the gate to take your place. You dress in layers. A wool sweater that has been darned a dozen times. A heavy coat you bought from a pawn shop. A cap pulled low. You step out onto the street. Harlem at dawn is a grey, huddled place. The sidewalks are crowded with people rushing to the subway. The air is thick with coal smoke from thousands of chimneys. It coats your throat. You cough. a deep rattling sound that everyone seems to make here. You walk past the brownstones. They look elegant from the outside, but you know they are subdivided into tiny cramped rooms. The landlords charge black taxes, rents that are double or triple what white tenants pay in other parts of the city. You reach the subway station. It is a hole in the ground that swallows people. The noise of the train arriving is deafening. You squeeze into a car. It is packed tight. You are pressed against strangers. You can smell wet wool, tobacco, and exhaustion. The train ride is a transition. You're leaving the black metropolis and heading into the white city. When you get off at the docks, the atmosphere changes. The bosses are white. The police are white. You have to watch your step. You have to keep your head down. The shape-up begins at 6 a.m. The foreman stands on a crate looking over the crowd of men. He points. You. It is a lottery. Today, you're lucky. He points at you. You get a brass check. Your ticket to a day's wage. The work is unloading bananas from a steamer. The crates are heavy, £50 each. You form a line, passing them hand to hand. The bananas are green and cold. Spiders sometimes hide in the bunches. You have to be careful. A bite from a banana spider can make your arms swell up like a balloon. The wind off the river cuts through your coat. Your fingers go numb. You lose feeling in your toes, but you don't stop. You can't stop. By noon, your back is screaming. You break for lunch. You eat a sandwich of bread and cheese, huddled behind a stack of crates to block the wind. You watch the river. It is grey and choppy. A man next to you, an older worker named Silas, offers you a swig from a flask. It's bad whiskey, but it burns going down. It warms you up. "Rent party tonight?" he asks. "Yeah," you say. "At Sarah's place, 142nd Street. Rent parties are the economic engine of Harlem. When the rent is due and the money is short, you throw a party. You cook food, pig's feet, collard greens, potato salad. You buy a gallon of gin. You hire a piano player, a stride pianist who can make the keys jump. You charge admission, 25 cents at the door. It's a party, but it's also survival. It's crowdfunding before the internet. "I'll be there," Silas says. "I need to wash the dust out of my throat." The afternoon shift is harder. You are tired. The crates seem heavier. The foreman is shouting, "Faster, get that cargo moving." You see a man slip on a patch of ice. He goes down hard, a crate landing on his leg. You hear the snap of bone. He screams. The work stops for a second. Then the foreman yells, "Drag him off! Keep moving!" 2 men drag the injured worker to the side. He is finished. There is no workman's comp, no insurance. He'll be begging on the street next week. You look away. You grab the next crate. You keep moving. This is the reality of the jazz age. It isn't flappers and champagne. It is broken bones and frozen fingers. When the whistle blows at 5 p.m, you are destroyed. You hand in your brass check and get your pay. $3. It isn't enough, but it's something. You take the train back uptown. The car is even more crowded now. People are coming home from cleaning houses, from cooking in hotels, from scrubbing floors. They are tired, but there is a different energy now. They're going back to their own world. You get off at 135th. The streetlights are on. The air smells different here. It smells of frying chicken and hair pomade. You hear music drifting from an open window. A trumpet, high and clear. You go home. You wash the dock grime off your hands. You change your shirt. You aren't a worker anymore. You're a patron. You head to Sarah's apartment. You can hear the piano from the street. It is a fast driving rhythm. Stride piano. The left hand keeping the beat like a drum. The right hand improvising wild melodies. You pay your quarter. You step inside. The apartment is packed. The furniture has been pushed against the walls. The red light bulb in the lamp casts a warm, intimate glow. The air is hot, thick with cigarette smoke and the smell of food. People are dancing, not the polite waltzes of downtown. They are dancing the Lindy Hop. They are throwing each other in the air. It is athletic, joyful, defiant. Sarah is in the kitchen stirring a massive pot of hopping john. She waves at you. Eat. Drink. You buy a plate of food and a cup of bathtub gin. It tastes like turpentine and juniper berries, but it does the job. You lean against the wall and watch. The pianist is a man named Fats. He is huge, sweating, smiling. His fingers are a blur. He's playing the Carolina Shout. For a few hours, the coal doesn't matter. The rent doesn't matter. The foreman doesn't matter. You are surrounded by your people. You are safe, but you know that tomorrow the whistle will blow again. The rent collector will knock on the door. The winter isn't over. You finish your drink, you catch the eye of a girl across the room. She smiles. You're tired. You're poor, but you're in Harlem, and the music never stops. The gin burns your throat, but the music burns brighter. The apartment is vibrating. It feels less like a room and more like a drum skin stretched tight over the city. The floorboards flex under the rhythm of 50 people dancing in a space meant for 10. You find Silas in the corner. He looks younger here. The grey exhaustion of the docks replaced by a sharp alertness. He's tapping his foot, eyes closed, lost in the syncopation. "This is it," he says over the noise. "This is what keeps us alive." You nod. You understand now. The rent party isn't just about money, it's about reclaiming the night. During the day, the city owns your body. It rents your muscles, your back, your hands. But here, under the red light bulb, your body is yours again. You can move how you want. You can shout. You can laugh. But the night has an edge. It always does in Harlem. Around midnight, the door opens. The music stumbles for a beat, then recovers. 2 men walk in. They aren't dressed for a party. They wear heavy coats and hats pulled low. They scan the room with cold, professional eyes. "Numbers runners," Silas whispers. The numbers game, the illegal lottery, is the other economic engine of Harlem. Everyone plays. You pick 3 digits. If they hit, you win big. It's hope, sold for a penny. These men are the collectors. They move through the crowd, taking slips of paper and coins. It's a shadow bank operating in plain sight. One of the runners stops near the piano. He says something to Fats. Fats nods, never missing a beat, and slides a folded bill across the keys. The runner takes it and moves on. Even the music pays a tax. You step out onto the fire escape for air. The cold hits you again, shocking after the heat of the party. You look down at the alley. It is dark, filled with trash and shadows. You see a police car cruising slowly down the street. It doesn't stop. The police know about the rent parties. They know about the gin. As long as the noise stays inside and the money flows where it's supposed to, they look the other way. It's a fragile truce. You go back inside. The energy is shifting. It's later now. The dancing is slower, closer. A woman is singing a blues song. Her voice is rough, smoky, full of a pain that feels ancient. Woke up this morning, feeling round for my shoes. You feel that pain in your own bones. It's the ache of displacement. Everyone in this room is from somewhere else. Everyone left a home to find a home. You leave around 2 a.m. You have work in 4 hours. The walk back to your apartment is quiet. The city is sleeping, finally. You climb the stairs to your flat. It is cold. You crawl into your bedroll on the floor. You can still hear the music in your head. It loops, keeping the silence away. The next morning, the routine starts again. The cold water, the train, the shape-up. But today, there is tension on the docks. A union organizer is at the gate. He's standing on a soapbox, shouting. He's talking about fair wages, about safety, about dignity. "They pit us against each other," he yells. "Black against white, immigrant against native. But we all bleed the same when the crate falls." The foreman comes out. He has a club. 2 police officers are with him. "Clear out!" the foreman screams. "No Bolsheviks here!" The organizer doesn't move. "We have a right to speak!" The foreman swings the club. It hits the organizer in the shoulder. He goes down. The police move in. The crowd of workers surges forward. For a second, it looks like a riot. You feel the anger rising in your own chest. You want to fight. You want to smash the system that breaks your back for $3 a day. But Silas grabs your arm. "Don't," he hisses. "Not today. They're looking for an excuse." He's right. You see the men on the edge of the crowd. Strike breakers. Thugs hired by the shipping company. They have brass knuckles. They have guns in their coats. The crowd backs down. The organizer is dragged away. The shape-up continues. You get your brass check. You go to work. But the seed is planted. You look at the white workers next to you. Usually you ignore each other. But today, you catch the eye of an Irish guy you've seen before. He looks at the spot where the organizer fell. He looks at you. He nods. It's a small thing, but it's a crack in the wall. That afternoon, a blizzard hits. A true nor'easter. The snow comes down sideways, driven by a gale-force wind. The river turns into a churning grey soup. The work stops. It's too dangerous. The cranes can't operate in this wind. "Go home," the foreman yells. "No pay for half days." You're sent away with $1.50. It's barely enough for food, let alone rent. You fight your way to the subway. The city is shutting down. The streets are white. The trains are delayed. When you finally get back to Harlem, it's a ghost town. The snow has buried the trash, the grime, the poverty. For a few hours, the neighborhood looks pristine, white and silent. You get to your building. The front door is frozen shut. You have to shoulder it open. Inside, the hallway is freezing. The boiler has died. The landlord didn't buy enough coal. You go into your apartment. Your breath fogs. The other families are huddled together in the kitchen, burning furniture in the stove, a chair, a table leg. "We have to keep the baby warm," a woman says. She's holding an infant wrapped in 3 blankets. You look at your bedroll. It is stiff with cold. "I have coal," you say. You don't. But you know where to get some. You go back out into the storm. You head for the railroad tracks on the edge of the neighborhood. The coal trains pass through here. Sometimes they spill. You aren't the only one. There are dozens of people walking the tracks, heads down, carrying sacks. It's the coal gleaning, scavenging for fuel. You find a few lumps, black gold in the white snow. You fill your pockets. Your hands are numb. You can't feel your fingers. You see a boy, maybe 10 years old, trying to pry a frozen chunk of coal from the ground. He's crying silently. He doesn't have gloves. You kneel down. You use your knife to chip the coal free. You hand it to him. "Run home," you say. "Don't stop." He runs. You find enough coal to fill your hat. It's not much, maybe a few hours of heat, but it's life. You walk back. The wind is screaming now. You can feel the ice forming in your beard. You make it inside. You dump the coal into the stove. The fire flares up. The room warms just a little. The woman with the baby looks at you. "Thank you," she whispers. You sit by the stove. You are shivering uncontrollably. Hypothermia is knocking at the door, but you are here. You survive the docks. You survive the storm. You survive the city. You close your eyes. You think about the summer. You think about the heat of the South. It feels like a dream now, a distant, golden memory. But you aren't going back. You are a Harlemite now. You're forged in ice and coal, and tomorrow, if the trains run, you will go back to the docks. You will lift the crates. You will take the money. Because you are building something, not just a living, a future. And the music never stops. We are leaving the snow-covered streets of Harlem behind. We're going back in time again, but this time we aren't looking for cold. We are looking for heat, the kind of heat that melts iron. We're going to the kingdom of Kush, in what is now Sudan. The year is 700 BC. You might have heard of the black pharaohs who conquered Egypt. But have you ever thought about the soldiers who made that possible? The archers, the iron smelters, the men and women who built an empire in the middle of the desert. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments. Could you march 1,000 miles in sandals? Dim the lights. Let the dry wind of the Nubian desert fill the room. And let's wake up in the city of Meroe. Congratulations. You've just woken up on a mat woven from palm fronds. It is dawn, but the heat is already rising. You are a soldier in the army of King Taharka. You're about to march north to fight the Assyrians. The first thing you notice is the dust. It is red, fine as flour, and it coats everything. Your skin is red with it. Your hair is full of it. It tastes of iron. You stand up. You're wearing a simple linen kilt and leather sandals. Your armour is light. A quilted cotton vest that can stop an arrow, and a shield made of rhinoceros hide. It is tough but breathable. In this climate, metal armour cooks you alive. You step out of your barracks. Meroe is a city of industry. Smoke rises from hundreds of chimneys. This isn't just a capital, it is a factory. This is the Birmingham of Africa. They are smelting iron here on a scale that rivals anything in the ancient world. You walk past the slag heaps, hills of black, waste rock left over from the smelting process. The heat coming off the furnaces is intense. Men are working the bellows, pumping air into the charcoal fires to reach melting temperatures. They are sweating rivers. They are making the spearheads and arrow tips that you will use. You grab your breakfast. A bowl of sorghum porridge and a piece of dried fish from the Nile. You eat quickly. The army's assembling. You are an archer. The Nubian archers are legendary. The Egyptians call your land Taseti, the land of the bow. You carry a longbow made of acacia wood. It is tall, powerful. You have a quiver of arrows fletched with vulture feathers. "Form up!" the commander shouts. You join your unit. Thousands of men. infantry with spears, archers, chariots. It is a massive force. You march north. The Nile is your highway. You walk along the riverbank, a green ribbon of life cutting through the gold and red of the desert. The march is brutal. The sun is a hammer. You cover 20 miles a day. Your sandals wear thin. The sand burns your feet. You drink from the river, careful to avoid the crocodiles that sun themselves on the banks. You pass the pyramids. Not the giant ones of Giza, but the steep, sharp pyramids of Nubia. There are hundreds of them, necropolises for the kings and queens. They look like teeth jutting out of the sand. At night you camp under the stars. The desert gets cold. You wrap yourself in your cloak. You listen to the jackals calling. You sharpen your arrows. You reach the border of Egypt. The landscape changes. More green, more people, but also more tension. You're invaders here, even though your king sits on the throne in Memphis. You're fighting the Assyrians. They are the most terrifying military machine of the age. They have iron weapons, heavy cavalry, and a reputation for cruelty that makes cities surrender before the first arrow is fired. You meet them near the delta. The battle is chaos. The Assyrians have chariots with scythed wheels, blades that spin and cut. They charge. "Draw!" your commander screams. You pull the heavy bowstring back to your ear. You feel the tension in the wood. You aim high. Loose. A cloud of arrows flies. It darkens the sky. You reach for another, and another. You are a machine. The Assyrian line falters. Your arrows punch through their wicker shields, but they keep coming. They are disciplined. They close the distance. Now it is hand to hand. You drop your bow and draw your short sword. It is iron, forged in the fires of Meroe. It is sharp. You fight. It is a blur of dust, blood, and screaming. The heat is suffocating. You're slipping in the mud of the Nile bank. You see a chariot charging toward you. The horses are foaming. The driver is lashing them. You dive to the side. The wheel misses you by inches. You slash at the horse's leg. The chariot crashes. The battle lasts for hours. But finally the Assyrians pull back. They have underestimated the Cushites. They thought you were just barbarians from the south. They didn't know about the iron. They didn't know about the bows. You stand on the field gasping for air. You are alive. You have won. But you know they will be back. The Assyrians never give up. You look south, toward home. It is 1,000 miles away. 1,000 miles of desert. "Regroup," the commander shouts. You pick up your bow, you check your string. It is frayed, but it holds. You are a soldier of Kush. You are the shield of the Nile, and you are a long way from home. You march. The march back is harder. Victory doesn't make the miles shorter. It doesn't make the water cleaner. You contract dysentery. It starts with a cramp in your stomach, then fever. You are weak. You can barely keep up. But you can't stop. If you fall out of the column, you die. The desert takes the stragglers. Your friend, a spearman named Pierre, helps you. He carries your shield. He gives you his water ration. "One step," he says. "Just one step." You focus on his heels, left, right, left, right. You hallucinate. You see the pyramids of Meroe floating in the sky. You see the furnaces burning. You make it back. You collapse in your barracks. You sleep for 2 days. When you wake up, the fever is gone. You are weak, but you are alive. You walk out into the city. The furnaces are still roaring. The smoke is still rising. The empire is still building. You look at your hands. They are the hands of a killer now, but they are also the hands of a builder. You go to the temple of Amun. You offer a small gold ring, plunder from the battle. You pray for rain. You pray for peace. But you know peace is a lie. The iron must be smelted. The arrows must be fletched. Because the desert is always waiting, and the enemy is always coming. Hey guys, we are leaving the ancient furnaces of Kush behind. We are moving forward in time, to a place where the battle isn't fought with arrows, but with altitude. We are going to Ethiopia in the 1930s. But this isn't just about a war. It's about fighting a modern mechanized army with bolt-action rifles and bare feet. It's about the Second Italo-Ethiopian War. It's about holding the high ground when the sky's raining poison. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, have you ever climbed a mountain? Now imagine doing it while being shot at. Dim the lights, let the thin air of the highlands fill your lungs, and let's wake up in 1935. Congratulations. You've just woken up in a cave in the Tembian Mountains. It is dawn. The air is freezing. You're an Ethiopian patriot, a member of the Arbenoch, the resistance. You stand up. You're wearing a white shama, a cotton shawl, over khaki trousers captured from an Italian supply truck. You have sandals made from old car tyres. They are ugly, but they grip the rock like claws. You grab your rifle. It is an old Mauser, German-made, from the late 1800s. It is heavy, reliable, and loud. You have 10 bullets in your pocket. That's it. You have to make every shot count. You step out of the cave. The view is spectacular. Jagged peaks stretching as far as the eye can see, dropping into deep, shadowed valleys. This is your fortress. The Italians have tanks. They have bombers. They have mustard gas. But they can't drive a tank up a cliff. Your commander is Ras Imru. He's a nobleman, but he lives like a common soldier. He's sitting by a small fire drinking coffee. Ethiopian coffee. Strong, dark, and bitter. The birds are coming, he says, looking at the sky. The birds. The Italian bombers. Capronis. You hear the drone before you see them. A low, angry buzz. Scramble. You run. Not away, but into the rocks. You wedge yourself into a crevice. You pull your shammer over your head to blend in with the stone. The planes appear over the ridge, 3 of them. They fly low. They drop canisters. It isn't explosive. It is a fine, yellow mist. Mustard gas. Gas! Cover your faces. You wrap a wet rag around your mouth and nose. It smells like garlic and horseradish. It burns your eyes. You close them tight. You hold your breath. The gas settles in the valley below. It kills everything. The grass turns brown. The cattle grazing near the river convulse and die. You wait on the ridge, high above the gas cloud. You are safe for now. The wind is blowing it away. But the gas is a terror weapon. It is meant to break your spirit. It is meant to make you feel like insects being fumigated. They are moving up the pass, a scout shouts. The Italian infantry, Alpini, mountain troops. They are tough, well-equipped, and angry. They want to clear these hills. You crawl to the edge of the cliff. You look down, you see them. A column of men in grey-green uniforms climbing the switchbacks. Mules carrying machine guns. Wait, Ras Imru whispers. Let them get tired. You wait. The sun climbs. The air gets thin. The Italians are sweating. They are carrying heavy packs. They aren't used to the altitude. You were born here. Your lungs are huge. They reach a choke point, a narrow ledge. Now! You fire. The sound of your Mauser echoes off the canyon walls. The lead soldier goes down. The column halts. Confusion. Roll the stones! This is ancient warfare meeting modern. Your comrades push massive boulders over the edge. They crash down, smashing into the path, creating a landslide. The Italians panic. They fire their machine guns wildly at the cliffs, chipping the rock. But they can't see you. You fire again. Bolt, aim, fire, bolt, aim, fire. You aren't shooting to kill every man. You are shooting to stop them, to make them afraid of the mountain. They retreat. They leave their dead. They leave a mule loaded with ammunition. Go! Get the mule! You scramble down the cliff like a goat. You grab the mule's lead rope. You haul it up the path. You open the crates, cartridges, hundreds of them, and grenades. Christmas has come early, Kofi. A young fighter next to you grins. You retreat back to the caves. You eat injera, sour flatbread, and dried meat. You clean your rifle. But you know this is just a skirmish. The war isn't going well. The Italians have taken the cities. Addis Ababa has fallen. The emperor has gone into exile. But you're still here. The Arbenok never surrender. That night you sit by the fire. A messenger arrives from another group. They are building a fort, he says. In the valley, a supply depot. A fort means they plan to stay. It means patrols. It means they will control the water. We have to destroy it, Ras Imru says. How, you ask? It has walls, machine gun towers. We go in at night, he says. We use the grenades. It is a suicide mission. But you volunteer, because if you don't fight, who will? You spend the next day preparing. You darken your face with charcoal. You check your sandals. At midnight, you move out. The moon is a sliver. You move silently through the rocks. You reach the perimeter of the fort. Searchlights sweep the ground. You time them. Sweep, dark, sweep, dark. You crawl under the wire. You're inside. You place the grenades near the fuel trucks. You pull the pins. You run. The explosion lights up the night. It is brighter than the sun. The fuel goes up. A tower collapses. Sirens wail. Soldiers shout. You scramble back under the wire. You run into the dark. You make it back to the ridge. You watch the fort burn. You are tired. You are hungry. Your country is occupied. But you're still fighting. You are the Lion of Judah, and you still have teeth. Morning comes, the smoke from the fort mixes with the morning mist. You clean the charcoal off your face. You look at your rifle. It is old, scratched, the wood worn smooth by your hands. It was made in a factory in Germany, sold to a trader, bought by your father, and now it is defending your home. It is a tool, just like the stone hammer in Zimbabwe, just like the machete in Jamaica. You realise then that resistance isn't about the weapon, it's about the hand that holds it. You shoulder the rifle, you start walking, to the next mountain, to the next fight. The smell of burning diesel fuel fades as you climb higher into the peaks, replaced by the sharp scent of juniper and cold stone. The air is thin here, so thin it makes your head spin if you move too fast. But you don't move fast, you move deliberately. You're still in the Ethiopian highlands, but the war has shifted. It isn't just about ambushes anymore, it's about endurance. The Italians have occupied the capital, but they haven't occupied the soul of the country. They control the roads during the day. You control the mountains at night. Your group, led by the indomitable Ras Imru, is moving camp. The Italians bombed the last caves with gas again. You lost 3 men, not to bullets, but to blistering lungs. You buried them under a pile of rocks so the hyenas wouldn't get them. Now, you're heading to a monastery, Debri Damo. It is built on a flat-topped mountain, a mesa with sheer cliffs on all sides. The only way up is a leather rope. It has been a sanctuary for 1,000 years. Now it is a fortress. You reach the base of the cliff. It rises 60 feet straight up. A monk lowers the rope. It is thick, braided leather, shiny with age and grease. You tie your rifle to your back. You grab the rope. You start to climb. Your arms burn. You are tired, malnourished, but you pull, hand over hand. You don't look down. You crest the top. A monk pulls you onto the ledge. He is old, wearing a yellow robe. He hands you a cup of water. The monastery is a different world. It is quiet, peaceful. Stone churches with wooden beams, ancient olive trees, monks chanting in gairs. It feels like you have climbed out of the war and into heaven, but even heaven has needs. We have grain, the abbot says, but we have no salt, and we need medicine. Salt. In the mountains, salt is life. Without it, you get weak. Your muscles cramp. You can't think straight. We will get it, Ras Imru promises. You're sent on a mission, not to fight, but to trade. You have to go down the mountain, cross the Italian lines, and meet a caravan coming from the Danakil Depression, the salt desert. You leave your rifle behind. You wear peasant clothes. You carry a walking stick. You are just a farmer walking to market. You descend the rope. You walk toward the road. You see an Italian checkpoint, soldiers in pith helmets, bored, sweating. They have a machine gun set up behind sandbags. You keep your head down. You shuffle. You try to look harmless. "Halt!" a soldier shouts. You stop. He walks over. He pokes you with his rifle barrel. "Dove vai?" "Where are you going?" You point down the road. "Market. Teller." You mime drinking. He laughs. He waves you through. "Vai, vai." You walk away. Your back itches. You're waiting for the bullet. It doesn't come. You meet the caravan in a dry riverbed. The camels are loaded with bars of salt, a mole. They look like bricks of white stone. You trade Italian lyre, stolen from the fort, for the salt. You load it into sacks. The return trip is terrifying. You are carrying contraband. If they catch you with this much salt, they will know you are supplying the resistance. You take the goat paths. You move at night. You make it back to the cliff. You tie the sacks to the rope. The monks haul them up. You climb up after them. You sit on the edge of the cliff eating a piece of salt. It tastes sharp, clean. It clears your head. You look out over the landscape. You see columns of smoke rising from villages burned by the Italians. They are trying to starve you out. They are burning the crops, but they don't know about the caves. They don't know about the monasteries. They don't know about the salt. You realise that resistance isn't just shooting. It is eating. It is praying. It is surviving. You sleep in the church courtyard. The stone is warm from the sun. You dream of a free Ethiopia. The next morning you are awoken by a strange sound. Not a bomb. A trumpet. Not an Italian trumpet. An Ethiopian one. An ancient war horn. News has arrived. The British are coming, not to colonise, to help. A force, called Gideon Force, led by a strange Englishman named Wingate. They are bringing guns. They are bringing the Emperor back. The war is turning. You stand up. You check your rifle, you look at the monks, they are praying. God is with us, the abbot says. Maybe, you say, but today I am with the British. You descend the rope one last time. You aren't a smuggler anymore. You're a soldier again. You join up with the British column. They are a motley crew. Sudanese troops, British officers in shorts, Ethiopian patriots. They have camels carrying mortars. They have Bren guns. You march toward the capital, Addis Ababa. The Italians fight hard. They have fortified the mountain passes, but they are scared. They are fighting a ghost army that appears and disappears. You fight at Keren. It is a bloodbath. The Italians hold the peaks. You have to charge up steep slopes under artillery fire. You see men blown apart. You see heroism and cowardice. You reach the top. The Italians surrender. Thousands of them. They look tired. They look like they just want to go home. You walk into Addis Ababa. The crowds are cheering. The Emperor Haile Selassie rides in a car. He looks small, dignified. You stand in the crowd. You're dirty, bloody, exhausted. No one notices you. But you know. You know what you did. You know about the salt. You know about the grenade. You know about the rope. You survived. You walk away from the parade. You go to a small coffee house. You order a cup. You sit in the corner. You drink. It is hot, strong, sweet. You close your eyes. The war is over, but the memory of the mountain will never leave you. The taste of the coffee lingers on your tongue, bitter and grounding as the scene shifts again. The mountains of Ethiopia dissolve into a flat, endless horizon of water. We are leaving the 1940s and going back, way back, to a time when the ocean wasn't a highway, but a wall. We are going to the coast of West Africa. The year is 1324. You're about to embark on the most famous pilgrimage in history. You're part of the caravan of Mansa Musa, the king of Mali, the richest man who ever lived. But this isn't about the gold. Everyone talks about the gold. This is about the logistics of moving 60,000 people across the Sahara Desert. It is about thirst. It is about sandstorms. It is about the sheer impossible scale of human ambition. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments. Have you ever walked until your shoes fell apart? Dim the lights. Let the dry heat of the Sahel wash over you. And let's wake up in Niani, the capital of Mali. Congratulations. You've just woken up on a mat in a mud brick compound. It is early morning, but the city is already deafening. The sound of drums, shouting, and the braying of camels fills the air. You're a porter, a free man hired for the journey. Your job is to carry water, not for yourself, but for the king. You stand up. You're wearing a simple cotton tunic, dyed indigo. It is cool and breathable. You wrap a turban around your head to protect against the sun. You step outside. The assembly area is chaos. 60,000 people, soldiers, heralds, scholars, cooks, slaves, and merchants, and animals. 12,000 slaves, each carrying a 4-pound gold bar, 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold dust. It is a river of gold preparing to flow north, but gold doesn't drink. Gold doesn't eat. The logistics are staggering. How do you feed a city on the move? Form up, a captain shouts. You join your unit, the water carriers. You're responsible for the goatskin bags, gyerbas. Each one holds 5 gallons of water. They're heavy, awkward, and prone to leaking. You sling 2 bags over a donkey. You carry one yourself. The caravan moves out. It takes hours just to clear the city gates. The dust cloud is visible for miles. The first leg is easy. You are moving through the savannah. There are villages, wells, rivers. The Niger River flows alongside you, a brown, lazy snake. But then you hit the desert, the Sahara. It is a world of silence and sand. The heat hits you like a hammer. 120 degrees by noon. The sand burns through your sandals. The water becomes precious. Every drop is rationed. The king drinks first, then the nobles, then the soldiers, then the animals, then you. You learn to drink warm, stale water that tastes of goat leather. You learn to conserve sweat. You walk at a steady, plodding pace. The sandstorms come. The harmattan, the sky turns red, the wind screams, you wrap your face in your turban, you huddle next to the camels, the sand gets everywhere, in your eyes, your ears, your food. People die, not from violence but from exhaustion, heat stroke, dehydration. They're buried in shallow graves marked with stones. The caravan doesn't stop, it can't. You reach an oasis. It is a miracle. Palm trees, green water. You fill the skins. You wash the dust from your face. You see Mansa Musa. He is riding a horse surrounded by guards. He looks calm, regal. He's wearing robes of gold brocade. He doesn't look like he is sweating. He hands out gold to the poor in the oasis towns. He builds mosques every Friday, wherever the caravan stops. He's literally paving the road with gold. But you don't care about the gold, you care about the water. You reach Cairo. It is the biggest city you have ever seen. The pyramids of Giza are ancient even then. The markets are overflowing. Mansa Musa gives away so much gold in Cairo that he crashes the economy. The value of gold drops for 10 years. He causes inflation just by being generous. You're dazzled by the city. The spices, the silks, the stone buildings. But you're also tired. You have walked 3,000 miles. Your feet are calloused leather. Your shoulders are permanently bruised from the straps. The return journey is quieter. The gold is gone, spent, or given away. The caravan is lighter. But the desert is still there. You make it back to Niani. You are paid in gold dust, enough to buy a farm, enough to retire. You sit by the Niger River. You watch the water flow. You drink cool, fresh water from a gourd. You realize that the greatest wealth isn't gold. It is water. It is shade. It is rest. You close your eyes. You can still feel the sway of the camel. You can still taste the dust. But you are home. You sleep. And you dream of a river that never runs dry. The river in your dream fades, replaced by the salty tang of the Atlantic. We are moving forward again to a different coast, a different struggle. We are going to the Sea Islands of Georgia and South Carolina. The year is 1862. The Civil War is raging, but here, on these isolated islands, a unique experiment is unfolding. It is called the Port Royal Experiment. The Union Navy has captured the islands, and the white plantation owners have fled, leaving behind 10,000 enslaved people. Overnight, they are free. But freedom in a war zone is a complicated, dangerous thing. Congratulations. You've just woken up in a slave cabin on St. Helena Island. It is dawn. The air smells of marsh mud and pluff mud, that distinct sulphuric scent of the low country. You stand up. You are wearing contraband clothes, uniforms or cast-offs given by the Union soldiers. You are a contraband of war. Not quite a citizen, but no longer property. You walk out to the fields, but today there is no driver, no overseer with a whip. The cotton is still there. It still needs to be picked. The Union government wants the cotton to pay for the war. They have sent missionaries, abolitionists from the north, to organise the labour. You meet Mr. Philbrick, a young man from Boston with spectacles and a notebook. He talks about free labour and wages. He says you will be paid for every pound you pick. It sounds good. But the reality is hard. The wages are low. The work is the same. The sun is just as hot. You pick cotton. Your fingers bleed from the bowls. Your back aches. But at the end of the day, you go to the storehouse. You weigh your sack. Mr. Philbrick writes in his book. He hands you paper script. Money, you hold it. It feels light. But it has weight. You go to the praise house. A small wooden church. You sing. Not the mournful songs of the old days, but songs of jubilation. Michael row the boat ashore. You are building a community. You're electing leaders. You're learning to read. But the war is never far away. You see Union gunboats patrolling the creeks. You hear cannons in the distance. Confederate raiders sometimes sneak onto the islands at night to kidnap people and drag them back to slavery. You join the local militia. You're given a musket. You drill in the sandy soil. One night the alarm sounds. A Confederate boat has been spotted. You run to the beach. You lie in the dunes watching the water. The mosquitoes are thick, biting your face. You see a dark shape moving in the creek. A skiff. "Halt!" your sergeant shouts. The skiff turns. A shot is fired. You fire back. Your musket kicks against your shoulder. The skiff retreats. You have defended your island. You have defended your freedom. Months pass. The Emancipation Proclamation is signed. You hear the news in the church. People weep. They shout. General Saxton, the Union commander, reads the document under a massive oak tree. You are there. You see the future opening up. But then the betrayal comes. After the war, President Johnson orders the land returned to the white owners. The 40 acres and a mule promise is broken. Mr. Philbrick tries to help, but the law is against you. The soldiers who protected you now evict you. You have to make a choice. Sharecrop for the old master, or leave. Many stay. The connection to the land is deep. This is Gullah country. The culture is strong. The language, the food, the stories, they are African roots in American soil. You decide to buy a small plot of land on the edge of the marsh. It is poor soil, salty and wet, but it is yours. You build a house. You fish. You weave baskets from sweetgrass. You survive. Years later, you sit on your porch. You watch the sun set over the marsh. The sky is purple and gold. You're old now. Your hands are gnarled like the live oak roots. You look at your grandchildren playing in the yard. They are free-born. They have never felt a whip. They go to school. You close your eyes. You listen to the wind in the palmettos. It sounds like a whisper. We are here. We are still here. The Port Royal experiment was messy. It was imperfect. It was betrayed. But it proved something. It proved that freedom wasn't a gift. It was a skill. And you learned it. You sleep. And you dream of a garden that grows forever. Hey guys, we are moving again. We are leaving the marshes and heading to the concrete jungle. We are going to Chicago in the 1920s. But this isn't the Chicago of gangsters and speakeasies. This is the Chicago of the Black Belt. The South Side, Bronzeville. You were part of the Great Migration. You left the South to escape Jim Crow, but you found a new kind of segregation in the North. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, have you ever moved to a new city and felt like a stranger? Dim the lights. Let the sound of the L train rattle your windows, and let's wake up in 1925. Congratulations. You've just woken up in a kitchenette apartment. It is a single room carved out of a larger house. You have a hot plate, an icebox, and a bed that folds into the wall. You share a bathroom down the hall with 4 other families. It is winter. The hawk, the wind off Lake Michigan, is screaming. The window rattles. You work in the stockyards, the Union stockyards, the slaughterhouse of the world. You take the streetcar to work. You are packed in tight. The smell of the yards hits you miles away. It is a thick, greasy smell of blood and manure. You walk through the gates. The noise is deafening. Cattle lowing, pigs squealing, machinery clanking. Your job is on the disassembly line. You are a knocker. You use a sledgehammer to stun the cattle before they are slaughtered. It is brutal, heavy work. You have to be precise. One miss and you have a panicked 1,000-pound animal on the loose. The floor is slick with blood. You wear rubber boots, but you still slip. You are covered in gore by 9 a.m. The pace is relentless. The chain moves. The cattle come. Whack, whack, whack. You're paid good wages, better than in the South. But the cost of living is high. The landlords in the Black Belt charge exorbitant rents because they know you can't live anywhere else. Restrictive covenants keep you trapped in a few square miles. At lunch, you eat a sandwich with blood-stained hands. You talk to the other men. They are from Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas. They talk about the Chicago Defender, the newspaper that told them to come north. Better than a lynching, one man says. Is it? Another asks, rubbing his aching shoulder. But in the evenings, Bronzeville comes alive. The Stroll, State Street, is lit up like day. There are jazz clubs, theatres, restaurants. You go to the Regal Theatre. You see Duke Ellington. You see Louis Armstrong. The music is electric. It is the sound of a people inventing themselves. You walk home. You pass the policy stations, the numbers game. It is the Bank of the Ghetto. You get back to your kitchenette. It is cold. You put a coin in the gas meter to heat water for a bath. You scrub the blood off your skin. You lie in bed. You hear the neighbours arguing through the thin walls. You hear a siren. But you also hear something else. Hope. You're building a city within a city. You have your own banks, your own insurance companies, your own newspapers. You are building political power. You think about your children. They will go to high school. They might go to college. They won't work in the yards. You close your eyes. The smell of the stockyards is still in your nose. But underneath it there is the smell of Lake Michigan. Clean, cold water. You sleep, and you dream of a skyscraper made of black stone. Hey guys, we are leaving the bloody floors of the stockyards behind. We are travelling back in time again to a place of scholarship and silence. We are going to Timbuktu in the 15th century. You might think of Timbuktu as a metaphor for the middle of nowhere, but in 1450 it was the centre of the intellectual world. It was a city of books. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, what's the most valuable book you own? Dim the lights, let the dry desert air preserve the paper, and let's wake up in the Sankore Madrasa. Congratulations. You've just woken up on a woven mat in a student dormitory. It is pre-dawn. The call to prayer echoes across the rooftops. You are a scribe, a copyist. Your job is to preserve knowledge. You stand up. You're wearing a long white robe. It is cool in the morning, but by noon, the heat will be intense. You walk to the scriptorium. It is a quiet, airy room with high windows that let in the light but keep out the sun. The floor is covered in carpets. You sit at a low desk. In front of you is a manuscript. It is a treatise on astronomy, written by a scholar from Cordoba. Your task is to copy it. You mix your ink. It is made from charcoal and gum arabic. You sharpen your reed pen. You begin to write. The script is Arabic, flowing and elegant. You have to be perfect. One mistake, and the page is ruined. Timbuktu is a university city. There are 25,000 students here. Scholars come from Cairo, Baghdad, Persia. They trade books like gold. In fact, books are worth more than gold here. You work for hours. The only sound is the scratching of pens and the rustle of parchment. At midday, you break for lunch. You eat rice and mutton with your fellow students. You debate philosophy. You discuss the movement of the stars. You walk through the market. It is different from the markets of the coast. Here, the most valuable commodity is paper. Merchants bring bales of paper from Venice and China across the Sahara. You see a caravan arriving, camels loaded with salt slabs from the mines of Tagaza. But on top of the salt there are leather-bound books. You buy a small book of poetry with your wages. You treasure it. In the afternoon you attend a lecture by a famous professor. He sits in the courtyard of the Sankore Mosque. He talks about law, about justice. He quotes the Quran, but also Aristotle and Plato. You realise that you are part of a global conversation. You are not isolated. You are at the centre, but the desert is encroaching. The sand is always trying to bury the city. You have to sweep the sand from the doorways every morning, and there are political threats. The Songhai Empire is expanding. Armies are marching. You worry about the books. What happens if the city is sacked? You start to hide them. You and the other scribes. You bury them in dry wells. You seal them in mud walls. You hide them in caves in the desert. You are creating a library of the underground. Centuries later, people will think Timbuktu was just a myth. They will think Africa had no written history. But you know the truth. You wrote it down. Night falls. The desert sky is a canopy of stars. You look up. You recognize the constellations. You know their names in Arabic and Greek and Songhai. You go back to your mat. Your fingers are stained with ink. It is a badge of honor. You sleep, and you dream of a library that never burns. Hey guys, we are moving forward again, to a time of steel and steam. We are going to the Panama Canal in 1910. This is one of the greatest engineering feats in history, and it was built by the hands of West Indian workers, men from Jamaica, Barbados, lush islands, who came to dig a ditch across a continent. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, have you ever dug a hole so deep you couldn't see the top? Dim the lights, let the humidity soak your shirt, and let's wake up in the Culebra Cut. Congratulations, you've just woken up in a bunkhouse that smells of mould and dynamite. It is 4:30 a.m. The jungle outside is screaming with insects. You are a silver roll employee. That means you are black. The white workers are gold roll. They get paid in gold, you get paid in silver. They get better food, better housing, better medicine. You get the dynamite, you stand up, you put on your boots. They are caked with mud. The mud in Panama is legendary. It is sticky, heavy clay. When it rains, it turns into a landslide. You grab your shovel, you walk to the train. The labour train takes you to the cut. The Culebra Cut is the continental divide. They are slicing through the mountain. It is a wound in the earth 9 miles long. You arrive at the work site, the noise is deafening. Steam shovels the size of houses are tearing at the rock. Trains are hauling away the spoil. Your job is to drill holes for the dynamite. You hold a steel drill bit. Another man hits it with a sledgehammer. Clang, turn, clang, turn. It is dangerous work. If you hit a pocket of unexploded dynamite from yesterday, you vaporize. And then there is the heat. 100 degrees, 100% humidity. You're sweating so much you have to take salt tablets. But the real killer isn't the dynamite, it's the mosquitoes, yellow fever, malaria. They call it the vomito. You get a fever, your skin turns yellow, you vomit black blood, and you die. The French tried to build the canal 20 years ago. They failed. 20,000 men died. Now the Americans are here. They have a new weapon, sanitation. Colonel Gorgas, the doctor, is waging war on the mosquitoes. He has brigades of men pouring oil on the swamps, screening the windows, fumigating the bunkhouses. It is working. The death rate is dropping, but it is still dangerous. At lunch, you eat rice and codfish sitting on a dynamite box. You watch the steam shovels. They look like dinosaurs. Suddenly a siren wails. Landslide. The earth wall above you starts to move. It flows like water, mud, rock, trees. Run. You drop your shovel. You sprint toward the train tracks. The mud is chasing you. It buries a steam shovel. It buries the track. You scramble up the other side. You watch as the slide covers the spot where you were eating. You're safe. But the work you did for the last month is gone. You have to dig it out again. That's Panama, the foreman spits. 1 foot forward, 2 feet back. You go back to work. You dig until your hands are raw. You dig until the sun goes down. At night you go back to the bunkhouse. You play dominoes. You drink rum. You talk about home, Barbados, the beaches, the breeze. You miss it. But the money is good. $20 a month. You send it home to your mother. You're buying land. You sleep fitfully. You dream of mud. Years pass. The cut gets deeper. The locks are built. Massive concrete cathedrals. Finally, the water is let in. The Pacific meets the Atlantic. You stand on the bank. You watch a ship pass through. It is huge, white, modern. You helped build this. You move the mountain. You get on a ship to go home. You are older. Your back is bent. But you have money in your pocket. You look back at the canal. It is a scar, but it is also a bridge. You sleep on the deck. The ocean breeze is cool. You dream of a house with a tin roof under a coconut tree. Hey guys, we are leaving the muddy banks of Panama. We are jumping forward again to a different kind of engineering, not of earth, but of sound. We're going to Detroit in 1960. We're going to Hitsville, USA, Motown. You might think you know the music, the Supremes, the Temptations, but do you know how it was made? It was an assembly line, just like the Ford plant down the street. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, what's the song that always makes you dance? Dim the lights, let the bass line vibrate in your chest, and let's wake up in Studio A. Congratulations, you've just woken up on a folding chair in the control room. It is 3 a.m. The ashtrays are full, the air smells of ozone and stale coffee. You're a session musician, a funk brother. You play bass. Berry Gordy is in the booth. He is a perfectionist. He wants a hit. Again, he says, from the top, brighter. You pick up your bass. Your fingers are calloused steel. You have been playing this song for 4 hours. The song is My Girl. You start the riff. Bum 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 bum. It has to be perfect. The groove has to be locked in. The studio is tiny. It was a garage. They dug out the floor to make the acoustics better. They call it the snake pit. It is hot. There is no air conditioning because the noise would ruin the take. You play. James Jamison is next to you. He's playing with one finger, the hook. He is drunk, but he never misses a note. The singers are in the booth. The Temptations. They are sweating in their suits. They are tired, but their harmonies are tight. I've got sunshine. It sounds good. It sounds like magic. But it is work. It is industrial. You're making a product. A 3-minute pop song that will sell 1 million copies. You do 20 takes. 30. Finally, Berry nods. That's the one. You put down your bass. Your hands are shaking. You walk out into the morning air. West Grand Boulevard is quiet. You go to a diner. You eat eggs and toast. You listen to the jukebox. You hear a song you played on last week. Heat Wave. It sounds amazing. It sounds like joy. You realize that you are building something too, not a canal, not a pyramid. You are building the soundtrack of America. You go home, you sleep, you dream of a melody that never ends. Hey, guys, we are moving one last time. We are going to the future. Or at least what felt like the future in 1975. We are going to the Bronx. This is where hip-hop was born. Not in a studio, in a park, in a rec room. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, who is your favourite MC? Dim the lights, let the breakbeat loop, and let's wake up at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. Congratulations, you've just woken up on a couch in the community room. It is August, it is hot, the windows are open, you are DJ Kool Herc's friend. You're helping him set up for a back-to-school jam. You lift the speakers, they are massive, the Herculoids. You wire up the turntables, 2 of them. Herc has a new technique, the merry-go-round. He takes 2 copies of the same record. He finds the break, the drum solo. He plays it on one turntable. Then, just as it ends, he switches to the other turntable. He loops the break. He extends the beat. Forever. The party starts. The kids come in. They are wearing sneakers, jeans, t-shirts. Herc drops the needle. James Brown. Give it up or turn it loose. The break hits. The dancers go crazy. They are b-boys. They are spinning on the floor. Someone grabs the microphone. Coke La Rock. He starts talking over the beat, shouting out his friends, rhyming. It is raw. It is messy. It is loud. But it is new. You're watching the birth of a culture. Rap, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti. It is born from poverty, from the ruins of the Bronx, which is burning down around you. Landlords are torching buildings for insurance money, but in this room, there is no fire. There is only energy. You realise that this is how survival works. You take what you have, 2 turntables, a microphone, a beat, and you make something new. You dance, you sweat, you laugh. The party goes until dawn. You walk home. The streetlights are broken. The sidewalk is cracked, but you have a rhythm in your head. Boom bap, boom bap. You sleep, and you dream of a voice that reaches the whole world. Hey guys, we are stepping back from the speakers now. We are leaving the Bronx block party and heading to a place of quiet contemplation, but one born from a different kind of struggle. We are going to the American South in the 1950s. We are going to walk the path of the civil rights movement. But not the speeches, not the marches on Washington. We are going to look at the logistics of the boycott, the Montgomery bus boycott. You might think it was just people walking, but it was a transportation system built from scratch. It was dispatchers, it was station wagons. It was a year of walking in the rain to break a system of segregation. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, what's the longest you've ever walked for something you believed in? Dim the lights, let the sound of tires on wet pavement fill the room, and let's wake up in Montgomery, Alabama, 1955. Congratulations, you've just woken up in a small frame house. It is 4:06 a.m. It is December. The air is cold and damp. You're a domestic worker. You clean houses for white families on the other side of town. Usually you would take the bus. You would pay your dime at the front, get off, and walk to the back door to get on. You would sit in the coloured section. If a white person needed a seat, you would stand. But not today. Today is day 1 of the boycott. Rosa Parks was arrested 4 days ago. The flyers have gone out. Don't ride the bus. You get dressed. A heavy coat, sensible shoes. You wrap a scarf around your head. You step outside. It is dark. The streets are quiet. You walk to the corner. Usually there would be a crowd waiting for the bus. Today there is a crowd, but they aren't waiting. They are walking. You join them. It is a silent parade. Maids in uniforms, men in overalls, students with books. You walk for miles. Your feet hurt. It is cold. A bus drives by. It is empty. The driver looks at you. He looks angry. He looks scared. You keep walking. You reach your employer's house. You're tired before you even start work. You scrub floors. You wash laundry. Your employer asks, "Is the bus on strike?" "No, ma'am," you say. "I just felt like walking." You walk home. It is dark again. Your legs are throbbing. But when you get back to your neighbourhood, there is a meeting at the church, Holt Street Baptist Church. You go. It is packed. Thousands of people. Inside, outside. Loudspeakers are set up. Dr. King speaks. He is young. He talks about justice. He talks about love. But then they talk about logistics. "We need cars," a man says. "We need drivers." They set up a system. The private taxi system. People with cars volunteer. The churches buy station wagons. You become a dispatcher. You sit by a phone. You coordinate rides. Car needed at Jackson and High. 3 passengers going to the hospital. Car 45, pick up at the shoe shop. It is intricate. It is efficient. It is a parallel transit system. The police try to stop it. They ticket the drivers for loitering. They cancel insurance policies. So you adapt. You organise rolling churches. Station wagons painted with church names. The boycott lasts 381 days. More than a year. You walk through rain. You walk through heat. Your shoes wear out. People send shoes from across the country. One day you're walking. An old woman is walking next to you. She's leaning on a cane. A car pulls up. A white man is driving. He leans out. "Get in, auntie," he says. "I'll give you a ride." She looks at him. "No, thank you," she says. "My feet is tired, but my soul is rested." She keeps walking. Finally, the news comes. The Supreme Court has ruled. Segregation on buses is unconstitutional. The boycott ends. You get on the bus, you pay your dime, you sit in the front seat. The driver glares at you. You don't look at him. You look out the window. You see the streets you walked, every inch of pavement, every crack. You own this city now. You walked it into submission. You go home, you sleep, and you dream of a road that is open to everyone. Hey guys, we are moving forward again. We are going to space, or at least the math that gets us there. We're going to NASA in the 1960s. We're going to meet the human computers, the black women who calculated the trajectories for the Mercury and Apollo missions. You know the movie Hidden Figures, but let's look at the reality of the work, the precision, the pressure. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, are you good at math? Dim the lights. Let the hum of the IBM mainframe lull you. And let's wake up at Langley Research Center. Congratulations. You've just woken up in a tidy house in Hampton, Virginia. It is 1961. You are Katherine Johnson, or Dorothy Vaughan, or Mary Jackson. You get dressed. A skirt suit, pearls, heels. You have to look professional. You have to look perfect. You drive to work. You enter the gates of Langley. You go to the West Area Computing Unit, the coloured computers. Your office is separate. Your bathroom is separate. Your coffee pot is separate. But the math is the same. You sit at your desk. You have a mechanical calculator, a Fridden. It clacks and dings. You are calculating the trajectory for Alan Shepard. Freedom 7. It is analytic geometry, orbital mechanics. You have to account for the rotation of the Earth, the speed of the capsule, the gravity of the Moon. 1 decimal point wrong and the astronaut dies. He burns up in the atmosphere, or he bounces off into space forever. You check your work, you recheck it. The engineers, white men in white shirts, come to you. They need the numbers. Check it against the machine, John Glenn says. The new IBM computer. He doesn't trust it. He trusts you. If she says they're good, he says, then I'm ready to go. You run the numbers. You verify the machine. The numbers are good, you say. The rocket launches. You watch on a grainy TV screen. You hold your breath. He goes up. He comes down. Splashdown. Safe. You exhale. You go back to your desk. There is more work. Apollo is coming. The Moon. You are calculating the translunar injection, the precise moment to fire the engines to leave Earth's orbit. It is the hardest math problem in history, and you are solving it with a pencil. You work late. You miss dinner with your kids, but you are rewriting the stars. One day, they integrate the bathrooms. You take down the coloured ladies sign. It's a small victory, but the big victory is up there, in the sky. Neil Armstrong walks on the Moon. You watch. You know the trajectory, you know the velocity, you know the math that put him there. You're invisible to the world, but you are essential. You go home. You look up at the Moon. It looks different now. It looks reachable. You sleep, and you dream of numbers floating in the dark, lighting the way home. Hey guys, we are taking one last trip. We are going to the future again, but a future rooted in the past. We are going to the Afrofuturist vision of Wakanda. Wait, Wakanda is fiction. Yes, but the idea of Wakanda, a place untouched by colonization, where technology and tradition merge, is real. It lives in the art, the music, the philosophy of black creators. We are going to look at the reality behind the fantasy, the Great Zimbabwe walls, the Benin bronzes, the fractals in African architecture. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, what would the world look like if history had gone differently? Dim the lights. Let the vibranium hum. And let's wake up in a world that could have been. Congratulations. You've just woken up in a city that breathes. The buildings are grown from plants, reinforced with carbon fibre. The streets are paved with solar panels. You are an architect. You study the old ways. The way termites build mounds to keep cool. The way fractals repeat in woven cloth. You use these designs to build skyscrapers. You walk through the market. It is high-tech and ancient. Holograms float above baskets of spice. Drones deliver messages buzzing like bees. You see people wearing clothes that blend traditional patterns with smart fabrics. Kente cloth that changes colour with your mood. You go to the library. It holds the digitized history of Timbuktu. Every scroll, every book preserved forever. You realise that this isn't just a fantasy. It is a projection, a blueprint. The past isn't gone. It is the foundation, the survival skills of the plantation. the navigation of the Underground Railroad, the engineering of the pyramids, the math of the moon landing. They're all building blocks. You sit in a garden, you listen to the wind. It sounds like the future. You close your eyes. You have travelled through time tonight. You have felt the heat of the cane fields, the cold of the ice, the dust of the desert. You have survived. You sleep, and you dream of a history that is just beginning. Hey guys, we're shifting one last time, but not to a new place. Instead, we're shifting perspective. We're going back to the very beginning of this journey, to the source of so many of these stories, the oral tradition. We're going to a griot gathering in West Africa. Before libraries, before the internet, before books, history was kept alive in the mind. It was memorized, it was sung, it was a survival tool. If you forgot the story, you forgot who you were. So check your subscription, leave a like, and tell me in the comments, what's the oldest story your family tells? Dim the lights. Let the kora music start, soft and intricate like falling rain. And let's wake up in a village in Mali, 1800. Congratulations. You've just woken up under the baobab tree. It is evening, the air is cooling down, smelling of wood smoke and red earth. You are a griot, a jelly. You are the keeper of the word. You stand up. You're wearing robes of heavy, hand-woven cotton. You hold a kora, a harp made from a large calabash and cowskin. It has 21 strings. The villagers are gathering. They sit in a circle. The elders, the warriors, the mothers, the children. They are waiting for you. You don't read from a book. You close your eyes. You access the library in your head. You start to play. The notes are cascading, complex. They set the rhythm. You begin to speak. You recite the genealogy of the kings. You tell the story of Sundiata Keita, the Lion King of Mali. You tell how he overcame disability to unite the tribes. But it isn't just a story. It is a lesson. You tell them how to resolve conflicts. You tell them which plants cure fever. You tell them the boundaries of the land. Your memory is prodigious. You can recite family trees going back centuries. You know the history of every clan. But being a griot is dangerous. You speak truth to power. If a king is corrupt, you sing about it. If a war is unjust, you remind them of the cost. You are the conscience of the community. Tonight, you tell a new story. A story about the ships that come to the coast. The ghost ships. You warn the young men. You tell them not to go too far west. You tell them about the people who disappeared. You weave the warning into a fable about a trickster spirit. The children laugh, but the adults nod. They understand. You play for hours. Your fingers are calloused. Your throat is dry. But you don't stop. Because if you stop, the history dies. The fire burns low. The children fall asleep in their mothers' laps. The elders smoke their pipes. You finish the song. The final note hangs in the air, vibrating. You look at the faces around you. They are connected by the music, by the story, by the memory. You realize that this is the ultimate technology, the human voice. It can carry a culture across an ocean. It can survive slavery. It can survive colonization. You put down your kora, you drink water from a gourd, you sleep, and you dream of a voice that echoes forever. Hey guys, our journey is ending. We have travelled from the cane fields of Jamaica to the ice of Lake Erie, from the stone walls of Great Zimbabwe to the jazz clubs of Harlem, from the salt caravans of Timbuktu to the control room of NASA. We have seen the disturbing reality of survival, the heat, the cold, the exhaustion, the relentless grinding machinery of history. But we have also seen the resilience, the sabotage in the mill, the code in the quilt, the math that reached the moon. History isn't just dates and names. It's the feeling of mud between your toes. It's the taste of saltfish. It's the sound of a horn blowing in the mountains. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember the hands that built this world. Remember the feet that walked the miles. Remember the voices that kept the stories alive. You are part of that story now. You have walked the path. You have survived the night. Thank you for travelling with me. Sleep well and dream of a future that honours the past.